There's a distance between us. It's getting hard to reach out. Haven't seen you in seasons, but all I hear is your voice. I know my limits, you can break me down, but I'll stay till the finish line. And I've been counting minutes for quite some time now, just to see you again. And I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been fighting ways to get away, to see you again, see you again. We got millions of reasons to let it all go. Hope we're not too broken. I know I'm not always strong. And I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been fighting ways to get away, to see you again, see you again.
Felt me like a Hellcat. Like a Hellcat. Like a Hellcat. Coming like a hell. Like a Hellcat.
Hello and welcome back to the main action of the Wuhan Open as we're finally about to get the resolution to this brilliant final, and it is going to be in between Zhao and Chang Minyu, but only one of them will be able to lift this wonderful trophy above their head. It is going to be the third player from China in a row to win the Wuhan Open, but this time around it won't be the Cyberman. Zhao has lost out to Zhao yesterday, who still seems to have his hands full of Chang Minyu. When it comes down to, Zhao had a really good stat about him so far this tournament where he didn't manage to lose a single frame, where, he was sort of certainly finding himself to be behind in the tournament. That was the case until very much in the middle point of that 9th frame, where once again, as Zhao was doing throughout the entirety of the match, he had the chance to try and take himself in the lead. He didn't really take that opportunity, and for once, Chang Minyu was actually able to try and take it away from Zhao, and in the end, that certainly came down to a 5-4 of a gap for Chang Minyu to possess, and now, all of a sudden, you might start to feel, especially if Chang is about to win yet another frame, it will come down to be a bit of a different story there, because no reason why you shouldn't think that Chang Minyu is going to be a threat, just because, from the past history, we've seen Zhao to be playing really, really well when it comes down to the second part of the finals, which he still holds an unbeaten record for. But I still think at some point there is going to be a challenger who is going to be able to take this game towards Zhao, and certainly something that has happened with him so far. We'll have to wait and see on what is actually going to happen. But I still think there will be plenty more opportunities to, try and improve their game for both of the players. But I think especially for Zhao, because you have to say, Chang Minyu still needs to improve, but his improvement is going to be based off him trying to win the title rather than the game that he's been showing. Because, one thing that is easy to forget, Chang Minyu came into this tournament being outside of the top 44. He was the world number 47 when he started out this performance, and now, of course, he's managed to rise all the way to the top 32. He'll be a massive jump all the way to the world number 21 if he is to try and beat Zhao, but I think still you're going to be around as far away as he would have been, before the match against O'Sullivan. After his match against Trump for winning this tournament, I think the chances are still there, but I think the challenge is also going to be there for him as well. But talking about Chang, as I say, I don't think he's got a lot of things to improve. I think he certainly can try and push himself to be a little bit better, but at the same time, I think he's done some of the things quite well. And I think the further we got into this championship, and the further we got into this match for sure, the more clinical Chang Minyu has become, and the less, we've seen a controlled performance from Zhao as well, because you have to say at the starting point of it, it was always going to be down to the pressure to be felt by Chang Minyu a lot more, rather than Zhao to be feeling, well, you know what, I'm the one that has got the pressure on me, I'm the one that has to perform. That wasn't really the case ever since starting from the 3rd frame, and in the end, I think that's exactly why you've got the scoreline to be like that. As the 2nd session is about to begin, it is still Zhao that has, that is going to be sitting in that favourite chair, but should he lose, yet another frame and get himself to be 6-4 behind, I think he will be able to lose that favourite spot. A hard one to call today, close. It certainly is, Kevin, but I think we've got, if you think about all the possible 9 scenarios of what the scoreline could have been after the previous 9 frames, you have to say it's probably the best one that you could have got, because you've got Chang Minyu not to be far away so that Xington's going to have to panic, but ultimately you've got the underdog to be the favourite when it comes down to he's got less frames to win. So I think it does remind me very, very badly of that World Grand Prix, because not only Zhao Xington had to win against Xiao Guodong in the semi-finals, which was the same in here and last season in World Grand Prix, but also the way that he plays the game. And I still feel he's getting an absolutely exactly same performance that he's putting in today as he has against Zhang. But one thing that he did it against Zhang really well, and I think, which is very, very similar to what he's done in the first session, apart from he was able to not to bottle that 9 frame and in the end get himself through towards a 5-4 of a lead. But Zhang was always the one playing catch-up, as has been the case with Chang Minyu. But I think Zhang and Chang probably were similar when it comes down to their respective performance. But what, of course, the most important factor is that Zhao Xington against Zhang Anda was able to absolutely skyrocket his level of snooker when it comes down to frame 11 and forward. His 10th one was still a little bit wobbly from what I can remember, but when it comes down to 11th, 12th, and until the end, he was absolutely unbeatable. So we'll see if that's going to be the case. I think Zhang didn't really help himself because he did let a couple of opportunities slip away, and if Binyu is to be going the same way, I wouldn't recommend it if he still wants to try and get himself the first ranking title on the board. As I say, he's already managed to do a lot better than what he's managed against Chris Wakelin, but so far, he's still got the 5 most important frames of his life to try and win, but he mustn't focus on that too much, otherwise the pressure will eat him alive. Interesting to see, by the way, is he going to take a couple of frames for him again to try and settle into the match, as he has done into the first session, or is he going to be just from the get-go, I'm going to be here once again? It's a nice little shirt swap for Zhao Xington, who's gone from white to black, and we'll see if that's going to help him, because he says that he needs a little bit of help to try and get his game back on the board, because once again, so many brilliant shots that he's played, even in this final already, but so many stupid mistakes, which even Ronnie was going to say, well, you know what, I could have potted that with my current form, and well, we'll see if that's going to be the case. By the way, if you haven't heard, both Mark Allen and Ronnie O'Sullivan have withdrawn from British Open for different reasons. Ronnie using the same old excuse for medical reasons as the official statement, but, you are going to have Mark Allen, very, very serious and very concerning news of him, because he's now withdrawn from 5 tournaments in a row for personal reasons, and he's certainly not the player that has got a bad reputation because of it, so you better feel there is something very serious out there, so whatever it is, so I sincerely hope that he will sort out, because as much as I say, there is one thing about not finding Mark Allen to be the favourite player, but as a character, you can't have a question or two to ask about him. Yes, sir, they pulled out. Sad to see. Yeah, I mean, probably, even as Ronnie fan, I think it's more sad to see Allen, because you actually feel like there is a reason there. We all know what's the reason behind Ronnie's withdrawal, because he lives in China, and he clearly can't be asked to be travelling towards Cheltenham. But I suppose this time around, it is a little bit reasonable, because he got into the semi-final of the Wuhan Open. But as I say, I think if he got eliminated in the first round, I don't think that would have changed anything. He hasn't played in British Open for 3 or 4 years, actually. 4 years he hasn't played in there. And this year is going to be no different. Once again, it was very important there for Zhao Xington to have only the second time where his break-off shot didn't allow Chang Minyu to be going for a long raid. Very interesting stat there, which I sort of noticed, where out of those 9 frames in the first session, 7 shots after the break-off have resulted in a raid to be potted. One of them, of course, has seen the cue ball to go alongside the raid, which was unfortunate for Chang, but, it just tells you that the break-off shot had certainly been a weak part of both of the players' game, but I think they've been so evenly matched there, it's almost impossible to say that, because it does remind you not just of the performance against Zhang and Zhao last season, but also Lisowski against Trump, where you've got very much a heavyweight and the world number 1, of course, at that stage of Trump, up against a player that hasn't managed to win a ranking event. And we all know how that one ended, but as I still say, I think there's a long way to go. And I think the players are still going to have to be evenly matched to repeat that scoreline, where Lisowski, of course, has managed to beat Trump by 9 frames to 8. If you're wondering about head-to-head, then don't worry about it. Only one match in their history they've played against each other 4 years ago in 2022 in the Championship League, and the scoreline was 3-0. So won't really have a lot of connections with a format of 2 sessions in a first to 10 match. But once again, the safety that has been one of the weaker points for Zhao Xington. If you're going to be able to find strong ones, let me know, because I certainly wasn't able to. A lot of them, and consistently playing well, but he certainly didn't play that safety well, and now put a red over the right corner. So we'll see. I still think Chang needs those couple of frames more than Zhao does, but of course that's due to potentially, Xington being able to kick in that form. But I feel like if he doesn't kick into this form early, I think it'll be really difficult for him to try and end up with a comfortable win in this match. Already at this stage, it's going to be quite difficult for him to win this match comfortably, because you would expect Chang Minyu to win at least 2 frames, and for him to lose this session 6-2 would be surprising, but that of course would still get him 7 frames on the board, and that's probably worst case scenario there, especially now, since he get that red nicely into the corner, positions himself very importantly top side of a blue. So in relation to the reds, it's difficult one to call this, because you've got a chance of playing a shot towards the left middle. And thank you very much there, Kevin. I mean, that's one way of doing it. That is genuinely very impressive, and I'm going to screenshot this, Kevin, I think you would have known what I'm talking about, but I am genuinely going to screenshot this. It is genuinely a little bit like trying to do a job application for a government position in Ukraine, where all of a sudden you're going to find yourself to be the man getting that particular job. So very funny there, but appreciate the support, Kevin. Really appreciate that. Now then, back to Chang Minyu and back to the chance of trying to play the black in towards the left corner. And when they say sometimes when you gift a membership, you're supposed to say thank you to the person that gifted it to you. So yeah, you don't often say that you should say thank you to yourself, but yeah, I appreciate that, Kevin. All joking aside, but it's the first time I've genuinely seen that, not just on this channel, but on any channel at all. A lot of people betting on Zhao, which is still reasonable, but I think the further this match goes, and the more, I think the calmer that Chang Minyu tries to be, the further he gets into the match while still having a decent opportunity, then I think the chances of him are going to not skyrocket, but they are certainly going to be increasing. And as I say, I think out of the 2 players, if you were to choose the more consistent one, which at this stage you probably don't want to be doing, especially now, since Chang Minyu run himself out of position there. So 22 points is the lead. And now a chance for Zhao Xington to be potentially getting back to the table, but Chang clearly has got other plans about it. To be fair, you have to say, these recovery shots have been played really well for him. And this one seems to be finding the target on the red. How about the target on the color? Well, he needs the green to go past the brown. And it seemed like he will to me. But it doesn't seem like he will to him. So he's going to have to, it seems, play the cue ball. Well, is he going to try and attempt this shot again? He played it before in the first session into the yellow pocket, had a massive fluke to drop this blue into the right corner instead. Can you imagine playing this blue into the yellow pocket, dropping to the right corner? Let's see what's going to happen here. This time, he doesn't need a fluke. All he needs is a brilliant long shot on the blue. And now he is playing himself superbly well. 28 points ahead of Zhao Xington, and still looking very nicely indeed to try and get himself yet another red on the board. So then, the position doesn't really get any easier for him, which is a problem, because, you feel like you've played so many great shots, but it's actually the easier part of the job that you're doing. And he's not doing this job very well right now, because you have to say, when you've got the position not to be the most difficult, and you keep yourself in that position where you have to be pulling out the shots out of somewhere, then you probably have to question your positional play, which once again, let him down there a little bit. Big frame to win, could help settle. He could, but at the end of it, he could also be, a massive opportunity to try and unsettle Zhao Xington there, because I think 6-4 behind, I don't really think we've seen this to be the case with someone like Trump or someone like Zhang, because the analogy that I was making to those previous 2 finals of World Grand Prix and Northern Ireland Open, well, He might be going off script a little bit here because he's got 35 points of a lead, which, is a decent break already to get us underway. But ultimately for him, getting a 44.1 to be the average, 45.4 to be the average for Xington. He's now going to try and play the cue ball into the red. A very nice line. He'll be unlucky not to be on the red. Well, he's on the red. I'm not sure what he's going to be able to produce out of it though, because it's a red shot. It's a shot which would see the cue ball to go straight into the other couple of reds. And when I say a couple, he wants to try and make it as few of them as he can, but well, let's see if he's going to be playing. I think his best chance is to play for the black, because I think if he's going to try and force it backspin, I think he's just going to get stuck in between the reds. Well, I have to say, if he's on the ping, that's lucky. There's no hand of apology, but that was just luck to me. I did say he was going to get stuck in between the reds, and very, very surprised to see, him not even raising the hand of apology. It doesn't really matter about that, but playing the shot in general, it's a brilliant shot now, but a very different outcome it could have been had he not landed on the pink. And, as I say, I suppose you have to admire the confidence and you have to admire the way that he played this shot. So I will. But I'm still going to say, and by the way, to decide that the man that plays with confidence and the man that clearly he's going to answer my question in the best possible manner, I did say, is he going to take him another couple of frames to try and settle? Well, there's your answer. So it seems like all those nerves of the first couple of frames seem to have come and gone. And the performance seems to be one of the best breaks that he's had in the entire match. Remember, we're still yet to see a frame where the frame would have finished with one of the players to be scoring X amount of points and the other to be scoring 0. So we are on our way for now. But we've been on our way for so many frames there, 3 or 4 I would say in the first 9. And in the end, neither of them finished with one break that won the frame without the other person stepping back to the table. Though you might say technically that happens in the first frame, because the only reason why Chang Min-yu was coming back to the table with him needing 9 snookers was to try and get himself a little bit of practice on the board. But still, according to the official stats, this could be the first frame which sees a nil next to the opponent's name of the losing player on this particular frame. So we'll see what's going to happen, but it's now going to be 62 points, which is now going to be the 6th highest break from Chang Min-yu. Ultimately, still not higher than the top 2 from... that's a mistake. And I tell you what, maybe that was getting in the head of himself a little bit more. He was turning around to see if there was someone in the crowd shouting something. But yet again, I did say so many times we've seen the players to be so close to be finishing the frame with just one break with a scoreline to nil. And once again, all he needed is a red and a color. He's absolutely perfect on the black. And he's absolutely not perfect on getting that red in. So yet again, this is a chance for Zhao Xington. But I have to say, you have to stop messing around. You need to be playing your game right now. And you need to do exactly what Zhao Xington has been doing to Chang Min-yu. And in that 5th frame, where he was around 55 points behind, in a very similar situation, in a clearance which probably looked even more difficult than this, he was still able to come away with a break of 65 points, which he needs to produce right now. Oh no, Chang market is going up. He was coming up, but now he's going down a little bit. Century coming, maybe next time, because he's now going to have to hope that he'll be coming back to the table himself. Maybe the century was coming, but I think he took the wrong door. Because now, of course, there can't be a century break from Zhao Xington, but he won't care about it. As I say, 6-4 is going to be a serious deficit for him to try and overcome. And I think he needs to try and, I know he's been playing some brilliant shots, but he needs to stop messing around with, those easy mistakes. I think with Chang Min-yu, you probably could say the same about him, to be fair, because what was that all about? Perfectly lines up on the red, and for no reason, all of a sudden he finds himself to be missing it. Leaves the red over the corner whilst getting himself positioned perfectly well for the frame ball, which would have been the black. But it seems like the story of the previous 9 frames is not gone at all. And it's exactly what, used to happen. One player gets a chance, and either they're going to bottle it straight away with 8 to 20 points, or they're going to be able to extend it to 40 to 60 points. And then the other player will come back to the table, and either he's going to be able to respond with a first chance, or usually doesn't really get a second opportunity there because of how attacking both of these players are. Their mistakes usually come from missing reds, which, you know, they've done a little bit of a poor job on lining themselves up for, but they never really seem to have the ability to take their foot off the gas pedal, and they just seem like, well, they'll be able to make that corner, but they never do. But I suppose, once again, it is just down to the way they play the game, but it's still far from being over. As I said, Zhao has managed to do a pretty decent job of scoring 29 points here, but he's still got two very difficult reds to try and pot. This was the red that he missed previously, and he's going to have to try and miss it now, because that's not going to be making it into the pocket. Once again, that's the brilliance about being to Wuhan rather than being to China Open and Shanghai Masters. That easily drops in either one of those previous tournaments, but the guys at Wuhan have actually done a really decent job there of getting those pockets to be reasonable rather than making 8-ball pool style. Big moment of this match, are all balls onto pot. No, they weren't. So there's two raids that were very much blocked, and the first one was the point of crumble there for Zhao. So I still think it is a situation which will greatly benefit for Chang Minyu, because he needs a red and a colour of any choice from yellow to black, and then Zhao will need snookers. Although, I mean, as I say that, it's not like he's not been in a snooker requiring situation 2 or 3 times in this tournament, and he's managed to come away victorious every single time there. But as I say, those matches are different, and you never know what to expect. Trying to go back to the stats is a nice thing sometimes, but on this occasion, I think it's all going to be down to who's got more technique and who's going to be able to sustain the pressure a little bit more than the opposition. Well, that's your answer. Needs to make sure he misses the free ball window, because Chang Minyu there, going for the shot on the safety, and I don't know why. I wanted to call it right before he missed that red, but I don't know, I felt like it would be a stupid call to make. But I just had the feeling that he was going to crumble and give those 4 points away, which could be crucial, because now he needs a very specific colour to be taken with the red. Otherwise, he will need both of them, as Zhao plays a decent enough safety shot to get those two reds to be right next to each other. Well, let's see what is actually going to happen. 29 points right now is the lead for Chang Minyu, so we'll see what's going to be down to Zhao as well. Time and time, potting not so easy balls, but missing easy ones. Mind game, unseen complacency. Yeah, but you can't say it's something new. You know, I would have thought that they're going to be able to fix it, but probably too early to ask that, as Chang Minyu goes for... I mean, I want to call this a hidden hope, you know, because that was anything but control, and he still left a long shot available here for Zhao. Now, this is an awkward one, because here you've got a window which will allow the red to disappear towards the left corner, but the other red has gone safe. So it's not really about trying to worry about getting himself nicely on the expensive colour. He's of course getting the red in, but also realising that if you miss the red, you're very likely to leave it. And well, Zhao has taken that red on a journey around the world, trying to pot it into the left corner, didn't work. Gone all the way to the right side cushion, bounce away, over to the left, bounce away, and it up in the middle, which just tells you how much power he played that shot with. But unless Chang Minyu wants to try and take a risk, which I don't think he should, he can try and take this red away into the right corner. But, I mean, once again, he probably goes for the shot if it wasn't for the foul that he made, because in that case, he needs a colour of any choice. So he could just try and play the cue ball to the top edge of the table. But now, probably an unlikely thing to happen, and he's going to have to try and make that cue ball to go the long way around and to the top edge of the table. So he decided to do it the other way, sending the red to the top edge of the table, keeping the cue ball where it is right now, next to the black ball cushion as well. And then we'll see what's going to happen, as Zhao still looking at that red. Needs to be mindful of it though, because he can usually play those type of shots with a cross double, but I don't really think he needs to worry about that particular red too much. He just needs to make sure he gets the cue ball into a reasonable position, which of course means avoiding a double kiss and trying to bring the white all the way to the black ball cushion. Avoided a double kiss, he has, but could have brought the cue ball a little bit closer towards the black there, because as much as he hasn't left anything, but also it's not really just about not leaving anything on there. It's about trying to put the pressure on Chang Minyu, because Zhao is the one that needs to make things happen. And he's the one that finds himself under pressure, both in terms of the frame in relation to the scoreboard, but also how important this frame is to him. Weird shot that from Chang Min-yu though, because he needs the cue ball to be running behind the pink and he won't. Very weird shot. As I say, I felt like Zhao Xingtong wasn't able to maximize the opportunity by bringing the cue ball towards the black ball cushion, but now, very thin shot on the red, leaves it quite close towards the yellow pocket. Now, of course, Zhao Xingtong has missed those shots before so far in the match, which is usually very much a trademark shot for him. So there is going to be 56 centimeters in between the red and the pocket, which still sounds like a lot, but in reality, it should be made 9 times out of 10. Well, maybe this is the time to start worrying about Zhao Xingtong as he gets a snooker lined up on the red that he missed. And I tell you what, yeah, I mean, if he misses the reds like that, he's still got away with it at this stage, but it's hard to say if he's got away with it or is Chang Min-yu going to be able to mount the pressure on him anyway. Because that was a shot, as I say, he should have been a lot closer to getting. He's nowhere near to be on the collar, which would have been a problem as well. But now, more importantly, the red that he missed has gone just about lower than the center of the table, but over the right middle. So with the cue ball to be at the top part of the table, I think Chang Min-yu needs to try and use the brown, which he has done. Reasonable shot. And, well, I think this is probably the end, unfortunately. As much as there are still 2 reds, both of them quite close to the pocket. That's probably the reason why I'm saying it's game over. It's a really good shot that Chang Min-yu has played. And it should be the one that gets him the frame as well. Because in this situation, even if you make a contact to the red, to get both of the reds safe, I think is less than around 5% of a chance. So you got to hit it in hope. Or at least so I thought it. Well, let's see. It's a decent attempt. Well, in the end, it was a really good attempt. But I think that's going to be... well, is it going to be a foul and a miss? Does Chang Min-yu fancy himself for this long red? Because it's still a long red, but it is over the pocket. As I think Xingtong was unlucky there because it might have actually been in that window of 5%. Should he have caught the red a little bit on the side, but yeah, Chang Min-yu, of course, is going to try and give himself the opportunity to win the frame. And, well, only needs the red. And then it'll be all over, and it is now going to be all over here. Well, in relation to... He needs the black as well, but if he was going to get the red, which he has, he was always going to be lined up for the black. So just trying to come back exactly to that red that he missed earlier in the frame. But in the end, as I say, they never seem to need more than one opportunity there. Sorry, more than 2 opportunities, the players. And when you waste 2 of them, you never seem to win the frame. That was the story for the 9 frames, and it's going to be the story in the 10th frame as well. It is Chang Min-yu that is able to extend his lead to 6 frames to 4, which is very interesting to see the way sort of reaction it's going to have on Zhao Xingtong, because for now, as you've clearly seen, you may have been not really making those complacent mistakes, but you have to still question his ability of long potting. 3 shots taken, 3 shots missed. You know, very rarely you see that any aspect of the game where you're going to say 0 out of 3 there for Zhao Xingtong. But of course, especially when it comes down to delivering in the final, especially when it comes down to delivering in the long potting area. But in the end, the yellow is going to stay away at the table. It doesn't matter there for Chang Min-yu. It will be a break of 16 points, which is still going to get him the frame that he's looking for. And as you can see, I managed to pot 58 more balls, which is more than equivalent of getting 2 frames as the advantage there to himself. So we'll now see what's going to happen. GG's. Big move next frame. Massive now. I support Zhao. Come on. Yeah, I agree, Kevin. I still think Zhao Xingtong can afford to lose the next frame, but if he does lose it, he's going to have to try and find that formidable form of his very, very soon, because right now, it does seem like he finds himself in all sorts of trouble. So we'll see what's going to happen, but I think really we are seeing something that very few people would have predicted out there, and certainly not me either. Zhao wins 5 in a row now. Come on. Well, it won't be even enough for him at that stage if he is able to win 5 frames in a row, because he's still going to need 1 more frame. But I mean, look at this: 182 points less Zhao Xingtong has scored in comparison to Chang Min-yu. So I think it's no secret that Chang has been the better player. It's just the question is, why has he been the better player despite probably not being, you know, out of that particular area? So we'll see what's going to happen. But, you know, it's as I say, it's still a very interesting thing for us to be watching out for, because, you know, at some stage you would feel Zhao Xington is going to kick into the fore. But the question is, if he just keeps on delaying that transition, you will at some point become too late, because he is Zhao Xington, but he ain't prime Stephen Hendry, is it? And he's not playing against, I don't know, Dave from down the road. He is playing against Chang Minyu, that has managed to be beating one of the best players in the world. He's beaten Judd Trump. He's beaten Ronnie O'Sullivan. He's had a couple of other really good matches as well, which I have to be honest with you, I can't really remember. What else has he managed to beat? I'm going to have a look at it now. Don't usually forget stuff like that, but he has beaten Ali Carter. Yes, that's the one I was thinking about. Didn't really care about Liu Hongyu, with all the respect. But yeah, his match against Carter was probably the one that sort of announced him to the world, because at that stage you knew that he was going to have to play against Judd Trump in the quarterfinals. And at that stage we've seen Selby against O'Sullivan, Trump against Binyu, and you felt like, well, we're going to get a final full of quality. For now, certainly lived up to the expectations in terms of drama, and quality is starting to get there as well. I think it has been slightly lower than expected, but I think if you exclude the 4 frames from the record, the first 4 frames, then you certainly have to say, well, the final has certainly managed to live up to the expectations, as long as you haven't been setting them to a ridiculous standard. Is the crowd big today? I still think the best and the biggest crowd that we've seen was very surprising for me, by the way. Selby against O'Sullivan, which in China, I mean, okay, it's O'Sullivan, but his match against Chang Minyu got less people, which I found incredibly weird. By the way, it is now yet another long shot available, so it's now 8 out of 11. I'm getting counts on those. 8 out of 11 where we had the chance, but sorry, 7 out of 11 where we had the red potted after the break-off. Let's see if it's going to be 8. Right now he's missed 3 long shots in a row, and he's going to have to make it 4, unfortunately. So, as you can tell, he's still not firing, not just on all cylinders, but he seems like he's got them all out of reach. And guess what? Guess what he's left to Chang Minyu? Of course he's left a long shot now. And the way these matches usually work, you don't pot it, I'm going to pot it myself. Remember what I said. I do expect this match to kick in to one-sided performance at some stage. I did expect this to see Zhao Xington to be the player doing that. For now, we are seeing exactly the opposite, with Chang Minyu taking charge of this game. Brilliant long shot yet again. And now there is going to be a window for him to try and get the black into the left corner as well. So we'll see what's going to happen, but you also have to put it down to a chance of getting the black to be taken in towards the left corner. Play the cue ball into the other couple of reds. Make sure he doesn't get stuck with all of them. And in the end, he's played that shot pretty well. When did Chang first appear on the tour? I don't know, to be honest with you. His return on the tour was last season, at the start of last season. But I can't really tell you. He is 24, so he would not really have been... I think he probably would have been in 2019. A lot of players came through on the tour from China in 2019, so that's probably going to be my bet. But he would have to be very young at that age to be coming to the tour in 2019. You don't pot it, I'll pot it myself. Love your outlook on things. Well, listen, it's... As I say, if it's Mark Selby against Xiao Guodong, you might have a very different picture ahead of yourself. But if it's Chang Minyu against Zhao Xington, as I say, on style of play, to me, they're two twins. It's just one of them. He's very much, you know, a heavyweight, and the other one is a lightweight division. One of them is a lot better, experienced, champion, world champion, winner of ranking events. The other one is, you know, a bit of a rookie, if you want. Chang Minyu there, not exploiting the best out of the chance that he had. And in the end, having to go for a safety shot. Zhao Xington won't give up on those long shots, but it seems like he just can't land one now. 0 out of 5 there, as he goes for another one, misses it, but this time around, he's not going to be leaving a red away. Yeah, well, at least he's not swearing, which is the positive, and he's still shaking his head there, clearly in disbelief of where of his old good forms have gone. It is weird to see him struggle there, because that's something that we haven't seen before, especially in the ranking final, especially in session 2, but as I say, it's still not too late for him to recover, and I'm a little bit surprised in a negative way there. If I was a fan of Chang Minyu, I would be proper worried about this one still, because the fact that he had a chance, and Chance started playing at age 6, got a 147 age 14. Well, there you go. I'm pretty sure the first 147 of Ronnie came at 14. No, 13. I think Trump was in 14 as well, which was very impressive. But yeah, I think from Chang Min-yu's point of view, you have to be cautious and you have to be a little bit worried there that he had that chance in the first time to get this 11th frame, if not won, then certainly, approaching to be won. Because as I say, as soon as you get the lead, apart from that 5th frame, I think it's always been the player with the lead to be winning the whole frame as well. Bit of a weird shot there that he's played. He needs the cover from the yellow. And once again, remember what was happening in the first session, especially in the first 5 or 6 frames. Zhao was getting all the luck. All of a sudden, it switched with those little things there. But because the yellow blocked the power for the cue ball, not only the white is going to be way further up the table, but also there is now going to have to be a lot more precision there on the safety shot, which, to be fair, Zhao responded with. And yeah, he's going to have to try and up his game in all sorts of departments, because it's not just down to fixing the long shots. You fix the long shots. What happened in the previous frame then? Why were you not able to get closer to that raid that he missed into the left corner, which was very much the beginning of the end for him in that frame? As Chang Min-yu finds a smart shot there. I think he gets unlucky with that one, but anyway, he should have got the cue ball to be a lot further up the table. So then, place your bets, everyone. 0 out of 6 or 1 out of 6. What's it going to be? It's another long shot. It's by far the easier of the previous 5, but doesn't really stop him from missing them. Well, once again, is he going to fluke it? No, he won't this time. Yeah, I mean, if he's not potting this, I'm sorry, but I've got really bad news for you. Because, as I say, Chang Min-yu, by the way, he's playing with fire. He's just decided to blindfold himself and to be walking on a very, very narrow rack there with above the sea full of sharks. Because if Zhao was able to pot any one of those 6 reds, I'm not going to say that he would have won those frames in a row, but he certainly would have given himself a lot more freedom to work with. But yeah, I mean, Min-yu is getting away with it for now, but for how much longer, it's going to have to be the question. 7-4 coming. Well, for now, probably too early to say, but the same red that Zhao has missed is going to be available for Chang Min-yu. And, well, he didn't necessarily get too close to that one either. So, well, once again, place your bets. 0 out of 7 or 1 out of 7. Because I don't think he'll stop there. Especially since he's got a red, which is still probably going to be one of the easiest ones out of those 7 that he's taken. But, yeah, I mean, I would be really disappointed, by the way, from Chang Min-yu's point of view, if he does make one of them in and also goes on to win the frame. Because he's capable of doing that. And I think he's still very much looking for that key to unlock. And at some point it was going to happen. But the problem is, getting the red itself was not the only thing he had to worry about. And now, easy on the black, because he has cannoned the red, the cue ball I should say, into the black there. But I think he's just about close enough to the pocket. But still, he doesn't really want to be exploiting those type of shots. He wants to try and leave himself to have as easy a life as possible. And I don't think he's done that. So it's now 1 out of 7 of long shots. So Brazil versus Germany, 2014 all over again. But yeah, only 8 points, which is still a start. But I don't think that was something that will get him his position back. And all of a sudden, he score 8 points and he's going to be like, yes, I'm back. I'll win the remaining 6 frames. So what does he do here? Because for him to be thinking about a safety shot, you genuinely have to believe that he's got nothing. He's got 4 reds to be in semi-open play, but with the cue ball being lower than all 4 of them, I think the highest red is covered up by the blue. And the 2 reds to the left middle are covered by each other, and the remaining 4th red is very much too close to the side cushion. Are you talking too much? Maybe. But as I say, if you think so, you can always, either tell me about it, but I'm not really going to take a lot of notice, because what else do I have to do? If I'm going to be sitting here, there's not a lot of point with me being actually here, so it's one of those things. You always got the cross at the top right point of your screen. But yeah, I tell you what, it must be really difficult for him to find a safety. He's thinking about it for a minute or so. And I know the plan B that he's going to think about, trying to go for a shot into the green pocket. But even there, you can see his face. He sort of said, well, you know what, that's too much even for myself. But he's certainly thinking about something, because I think if he wanted to go for a safety shot, he would have done it. Because I can see a handful of those. Well, I said he's going to be too much even for himself. He's still going to go for it. I tell you what, that is absolutely illegal to be putting a shot like that. And if he does come back to win this tournament, remember, 4-6 down, he was thinking about that shot for a long, long time. And I tell you what, that's when thinking really pays off. You better not mess it up now. He has. Straight away. Once again, the story of Zhao, you get all hyped up about him, and then he messes it up with the black. He got the black in, but it's 16 points, which he's not going to be able to do a lot with, unless he goes for another difficult raid. But once again, he can't, the whole point of going for a brilliant raid into the green pocket was because, it's one of those where you play it once and you don't have to play that shot ever again, like for the rest of the tournament for sure. But because of how risky it was, but also how a little chance there was of making that red in. But in the end, it's only going to give him 7 points. And on this occasion, he clearly realized that, it is 4-6. And, well, it may not actually be the raid that sparks him into a comeback, but purely from the class point of view, it just shows you that he's still got so much potential to try and come back from being 6-4 down. He seems to be lacking, I don't know what he's lacking. He's certainly lacking a lot of positional play there. I think so far in this, in the second session, 2 frames that he's played, 1.5 I should say, he had pretty much perfect pot success, apart from, missing so many long shots, which I don't really think counts towards pot success. Here's a different stat for you, but it's not a great shot there from Chang Minyu, and that's probably a polite way of saying it, because he should have not been anywhere near the black. So if one of those 2 raids go into the yellow pocket, well, one thing is for certain is that Zhao will attempt one of them, but also he's got a great line of trying to get the cue ball to be running towards the black there, onto the black ball cushion, and therefore just ensure that he will be coming down to a shot on the black with a lot of safety there to his name. But it still seems like somebody in the crowd is certainly distracting both himself and the referee. Try and get again, bound to get one, and we'll get confidence back. Well, yeah, but if you're going to try and miss all of them, you don't really expect Chang Minyu to be sat there. Try again, please. On you go. You'll have to try and respond with the appropriate manner. For now, it's a good line there with the cue ball. He needs to try and sneak in behind the black. And I tell you what, it's a really good effort that. I'm not sure he got the result that he wanted, but he certainly is going to give a bit of a headache there to Chang Minyu to see the way that he wants to try and approach his shot, because forget about the snooker. He's going to have to try and play a safety shot of some sort. And, of course, it was very important to cover the left-hand side of the pack, which is what he's done. How close the cue ball is towards the black ball cushion doesn't have to be mentioned either. So no backspin available. Can't send the cue ball to the top edge of the table because there's 2 raids waiting for you. So it's a very good shot there from Xington. But, one thing about his safety so far, there've been some great shots there, but they never seem to get him anything. Well, unless Chang Minyu is thinking about going for a red into the middle. I mean, that will be some shot for him to play. No, he's just trying to play it as a safety. Well, that is... I mean, it reminds me of one of the shots that Zhao has played against Hawkins, which was very much dreadful, and it cost him the frame. It may not cost the frame to Chang Minyu here, but it's certainly a chance, which I think is way too generous there. Or suppose easier said than for me to say, than for him to try and find a solution to keep him completely quiet. But as I say, if that's your best variant, then it certainly was a brilliant shot there from Zhao, but he is getting himself to be better, and if he's on the brown, he's got a real chance here of trying to make things happen for him as well. This wasn't an easy shot, and he was able to find a little bit of side spin on it to get the cue ball to be far away from that straight line. Needed to be far away from the jaws as well to get him a nice position on the ball colours, which he has done. And now it is game on in this 11th frame, and therefore he should be a game on in the match as well. But I still think that long shot, not necessarily the first one, but the shot into the green pocket, is going to make him believe again that he can play those type of shots. And as long as we don't see any more stupid errors, which we haven't seen so far in second session, but I suppose he didn't really do much so far, then we'll be able to see a real match in our hands. Because one thing I will tell you, Chang Minyu will never be able to keep up with the pace if Zhao Xington starts to be playing with his 5-star snooker, the question is, can he? And what's the response from Chang Min-yu's point of view is going to be? Because you know what, he can always try and shut him down, but I don't think that's going to be a tactic which suits him. Because even when you try and shut down Zhao Xington, I think he's going to have the experience of players trying to do that. And I think, you either have to be a really good player, or you have to be as good with safeties as you are with the sort of, attacking play, which is why I think Murphy was probably the perfect player to beat Zhao Xington in the World Championship, which is why I was always surprised why Murphy was able to beat Zhao and didn't manage to beat Weezer. But different stage, different circumstances, and I suppose different pressure as well. Because sometimes you can say the experience is a nice little thing, but when you're a rookie, which was the case of Weezer, and you've got nothing to lose, try and do that next season. I think you'll find it a lot more difficult to try and replicate that performance. How many free reds on the table? Well, it's a good question. I think Zhao is trying to figure it out for himself. I would say 0, but then I think there will be a lot more void of looks on his face. So probably 1. But which one? It's hard to tell. Well, it seemed like he didn't really know either, because if he's trying to play for the Reds closest to the left side cushion, then he didn't really do a good job of it. But also, you have to ask the question of how did he end up so tight towards the pink if he didn't have the red available? Because I thought he might have a red available into the left corner, which meant just push through the shot on the pink, and then you're going to be sorted on the red. But, well, I suppose it answers your question. None is now the answer. And he's just going to have to be a safety shot there from Zhao Xington, as he gets himself a chance of, 24 points of a lead right now. And at the end, he will be all down to a chance for Chang Min-yu to get him right back in the action. He didn't really win a lot of those frames, though, when Zhao Xington had a significant points of a lead. I think the first one comes to mind was frame number 9. And probably the only time, actually, where we've seen Xington to have a significant points of a lead, and he was still able to come away with a performance which seen him to win that specific frame out there. Both of them are deadly when the cue ball is within 8 feet of object ball. True. Chang takes 6 to win. You'll see it hit like button. Thank you very much, Kevin, there. Appreciate everyone to be watching. Feel free to subscribe and hit the like on the stream. We are going to be straight back to the British Open, by the way. Ooh, that was close. Was there a contact on the red? I think there wasn't. And is there going to be... Well, I mean, was there a contact? I mean, it was so close. And after that blue in the final of the China Open, I'm always looking at those a little bit nervously. So, yeah, the referee has called a foul. And he was very close and a very good line there from Chang. But in the end, it is going to be yet another foul shot. And I'm pretty sure we still haven't seen any of those from Zhao Xington. So we should be around any difficult colours. The pink is now in the black spot. The black is a little bit lower, but I still think they're in perfect position there. Because if anything, I think at this stage, with the way the Reds are situated, I think you probably want one of the pink and the black to be away there, just so he doesn't really intervene with the cue ball getting on those Reds. But more importantly, let's see the way that he tries to approach this shot. And is he going to have to be warned now, is the question. It's going to be very interesting to see. I don't think there is going to be a chance of a free ball, although you never know. A free ball was called yesterday in the match against Xiao Guodong, where I thought it wasn't anywhere near a free ball. And yet the referee called it. So then, once again, 32 now is the lead for Chang Min-yu, and Zhao Xington seems to be happy to say it's not a free ball. So then back it goes. British Open, you doing well done. Yeah. I mean, last season it was the only final we haven't done because I went to Cheltenham, which was, once again, nice memories there. I think McGill was able to do it as well as he has managed to, especially for him to be in the position where he was. You know, I was very much skeptical of all the players that we got into the last 8 and the last 4, and he is now going to get warning there, Chang. So, whatever it is, it's going to be fun to watch from a neutral perspective. Is he going to try and hit a hope and just screw the cue ball back off the Reds? I think that's the way. No, that's not the way. You try to take the cue ball into the core of the Reds. You put one of them safe, which is a problem, because he's the one that's going to need all of them. But at the same time, you do have to wonder why you didn't play that shot first time. Brilliant cue ball control. First class. And yeah, very much didn't have to fly an economy plus there, because that was a brilliant shot that he's taken. And yeah, I mean, McGill was actually able to give Murphy a game there, and he was actually, for some time, it seemed like he was doing exactly the same thing that Chang Minyu is doing right now, trying to keep himself in the lead. But there was a very key frame for me that I can remember in frame 14, where McGill was challenging for 8-6 of a lead. He lost that frame. It was 7-all, and Murphy didn't drop a frame ever since that point. Great commentary. I watched a lot of these, and he's the best. I'm from the States, working in Japan, in snooker on public television there in England. Unfortunately, not there, Hickey, but I appreciate the comment. It will be on the public TV for the British Open, because it will be down to Channel 5 that they're doing, which I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, not really from the UK, but I think it is public television alongside the ITV. But yeah, as I say, absolutely not going to be convinced by that one. So then still, a good exchange there with safety shots. Now let's see what Chang Minyu is going to be able to achieve here. Trying to go for a very careful shot on the reds. When I say careful, the cue ball seems to be listening as well. Very close towards the yellow pocket, but in the end, just about missing the target. I like Anthony McGill, nice guy and decent player. Yeah, certainly. Well, can't really comment on nice guy. Certainly didn't have any negative interactions with him, but a really good player there as well, a crucible specialist. When he comes down, I think he's got more achievements and more sort of snooker legacy than someone like Zhao Wei. If you know, you know. That brilliant semi-final that he had against Wilson, so many massive wins that he had against the top seeded players. I'm pretty sure he beat O'Sullivan once in sort of last 16 or the quarterfinals of the World Championship. So yeah, he's certainly the one for the past. Unfortunately, not so much for the present, but as I say, how many players have managed to reach a ranking event final last season? Not many of them, but this guy has. The one that is thinking about the shot there, it is not Zhao Xington, it is Chang Minyu. Zhao has managed to win more than anyone in both 2025 and 2026 when it comes down to it, especially with ranking events, because Wilson would have been a challenger given the invitational that he's won. But I'll tell you what, he might have been thinking about it, but he came away with a brilliant shot on the red. As Chang Minyu, despite getting the cue ball back to safety, manages to pot a red, but seems like he's not really going to be able to expand on that even further. Yeah, I remember when McGill beat O'Sullivan. Yeah, he beat O'Sullivan. Well, fair enough, Bear, because I have to say I was just having a feeling for it, but I couldn't tell you the year or the stage. I remember just thinking about McGill. Yeah, because I was looking through the previous sort of tournaments, and I had a few couple of names there, which I seem to forget. Court Mufflin was another player, by the way. He was from Norwegia. I'm pretty sure one of the only Norwegian players that I know of snooker. But he was such a giant killer, I remember him giving a really hard time to Higgins. I think he beat him something like 13-12. But Crucible, sometimes he does mad things to you, because if you told me that before Selby mentioned it, that St. Karma's managed to but he's taken Selby to a decider in a best of 25 match, which is incredible skill for you to try and achieve that. Well, incredible skill there from Zhao Xington, but is it going to be enough there? He got a perfect shot on the red. How about getting the red safe? Is that a little bit too much to ask? We'll find out soon. Scots are mostly theory-mannered, more like a volcano, never know when to explode. Well, just look at Maguire. But on the other hand, look at Higgins. Certainly got the reputation of being the calm man under pressure. So many deciders that he wins. And talking about calm under pressure, it's a brilliant shot there from Chang Minyu, but once again, where's the position going to be? This time it's going to be better than last time, but he is getting those reds to be eliminated without getting the colours in, unless of course he's going to be able to go for the blue, which he clearly is going to fancy. So just trying to think, 30 points behind, 25 if he gets the blue in. He's certainly going to need all the reds, but is he going to need the yellow and the green as well? Because those two for now are going to be a problem if you take them as a combination. But there is one red which was very much put there by Chang Minyu himself on the left side cushion, but still a long way to go until that stage. The pink is still covered by the reds on the black ball spot, which is a little bit confusing. So I think he's going to have to try and work his way through that red first, but he is going to be losing some points, which at this stage you never know how important that could prove to be. Well, there's the pressure. Well, yeah, if any doubts were there, I was number one underestimating the Crucible curse. And then you could see it from the first match of Liam Highfield against Zhao Zidong. You could just see that he wasn't anywhere near the form that he was showcasing, both in the Tour Championship or of the Crucible last season, which clearly was all down to that story. Which, to be fair, I think it was actually fair enough of Stephen Hendry. I was actually a little bit surprised there, but he was encouraging Zhao Zidong right after he met him after the Tour Championship, saying, you know, don't worry about it. It's just the things that media do to try and get the headlines. But he mentioned it like 4 or 5 times there to him before the World Championship, which I thought was very nice of him, especially if you know Stephen's character and his relation to the records. But I suppose he wasn't able to sort of get that Crucible curse to be defeated, if you like, or to be taken away or raised and whatever, because even though he was the king of 90s, he was still not able to, you know, win the second title as soon as he won the first one the year after. Many may not agree. I find Stephen Hendry as well a mannered Scots snooker player. I don't really think there is a reason to disagree with that. I don't think he's the player that would be throwing his hands around the table. I mean, he's not really the calmest under pressure, but, well, no, he is one of. But what I am thinking about, he didn't really have to be that aggressive or unhappy with something because of how good of a player he was. So I think it's a little bit weird to say that you don't agree, because I certainly would agree that he was a well-mannered player. I don't really think he had a lot of scandals, but I suppose I wouldn't probably know the whole story about it. But it's a really good shot there that Chang Minyu has played, trying to get one of those reds away from the side cushion. So now it's all down to those next 3 or 4 shots, plus the yellow and green. But I feel like this is the red, which can get it right or can get it horribly wrong. It's a mid-range shot there, if you like, and he needs to be absolutely spot on with his placement of the cue ball. Now seems to be on the running. Well, he has on the run, but he's got a lot of angle on the blue. So how much of a space, how much of freedom does he have? This is really checking there to be on the right-hand side of that red. Seems like he's not quite as happy with it as he could have been. So at the end, which colour is he going to take is going to be another massive thing, because you would think you'd go for the blue, and he probably thinks so as well. Now then, the blue probably is going to be the frame ball for him. Let's see if this is going to be the shot which gets him. Well, that's a little bit too much spin. Unless he tried to bring the cue ball into the reds. Well, I'll tell you what, I thought he's got that one horribly wrong. He could not have got that one any more right. And that is, well, if I said that shot into the green pocket from Zhao Zidong could be the one that sparks the comeback, well, this could well be the shot which kills the intrigue there. Not in relation to this frame, but in relation to the next frames as well. Because now about to find himself 48 points for both of the players. This is when you need a good 3 shots, and then it'll be all down to a straightforward colour clearance. Now then, where is Brussels at the battle break? Probably still in qualifiers. I don't think, well, he certainly didn't manage to get through any of those. He won't be at the English or the British Open, unless I don't know something. He may still have a qualifying round in the British Open, but I think he lost them all. Which, I may be wrong about it, but now this is a shot there, which is probably the last time where something can go wrong. If he gets the yellow in, and he's largely on the green, he should be 7-4. He gets the yellow in. Ooh, it's alright. I don't know why he played for a shot like that. A little bit surprised that he didn't try and just hold the cue ball for the green, which basically stun it, and take the shot away in towards the yellow pocket. But I feel like the cue ball just about close enough to the left-hand side of the green for it to be an easy shot. And by easy, I mean you don't have to do anything with the cue ball. Just try and get the green in, and then you will get the position on the brown. But still, one more shot that he needs to play. He was dragging it a little bit in the previous frame for having to get out of trouble every single time there, but he always did. And once again, he was able to do so on this time as well. So then, as I said, the blue is going to be the frame ball. He's now 11 points clear. And he will be 15 points clear off the brown. And then it will come the turn for the frame ball. Very surprising to see Zhao Zidong to have lost 4 frames in a row, which of course is now going to be the case if the brown and blue are going to disappear. The brown is in. How good is the blue? It's about as good as it can be. So then, against the odds, I said the match is going to finish 10-5. It may still finish 10-5, but not for the player that I predicted, because now Chang Minyu has taken another huge step towards winning this title in Wuhan Open. And if he was the favorite after the previous frame, well, now he's going to be a massive favorite to win this one away. And you have to say, how on earth can he not win it after everything that Zhao Xington has done, both wrong and right? You just feel like it's not his day, and it certainly seems to be the day for Chang Minyu to be the man to try and challenge Zhao Xington. But by the way, one thing I will say, Kevin, the crowd has certainly risen in numbers for the second session, which is still understandable. But yeah, it's one of those things. And we have to wait and see if there is going to be even more attendance for Zhao Xington point of view, because for now, it just seems like he's not really getting himself into, that position where he will be able to challenge Chang Minyu and be competitive. But at the same time, is he going to be down to a chance for him to try and show the skills that he has? GD's frame, soft now for Zhao. Exactly. And at the same time, you can say he's going to be pretty much match over as well. Some brilliant shots, though, that Chang has played. That red that he cut into the left corner first time, and then the one that he was able to go for a long shot, which finally got him on the collar. Certainly being patient, certainly playing some great safety shots, but when it came down to the attacking play as well, he was able to come away with some great answers too. Probably the only stat that he's struggling with right now is the foul points. As you can see, 38 that he's conceded to Zhao Xington, with the Cyclone conceding only 4 of those. But let's be fair, I think it's only what he deserves, both of them. I think Zhao Xington just has not managed to find any sort of form. You probably have to ask the question how he got himself into the final, but I felt like he had more form in those previous matches where you felt like he wasn't really struggling, but he wasn't playing his best snooker. Today, he came across an opponent which is playing well throughout 11 frames, which in the best of 11 and best of 9 format, he never met in this tournament. Jack Jones allowed him to be way far ahead, 4-0. Then Hawkins lost a very important frame of 5, never recovered ever since, lost 5-2. Robertson once again 4 frame, try and level it for the intermission, loses it however he wants with a snooker to be lined up, and then he was very much down to a 5-1 win. Xiao Guodong was very close, 2-all, and then finally Zhao Xington was able to find his game to be at the top level throughout those 3 or 4 frames. Today, we haven't seen a glimpse of it, and, may have seen glimpses of it with shots, but never for an actual frame from start to finish where he played without any sort of mistakes. Do you find Zhao body language doesn't change when he's losing? Yeah, absolutely, and I'm stunned by that, I have to say. But I think he explained it pretty well when he was doing that interview with Stephen Hendry, saying that, I know that even if I lose this tournament, there's going to be plenty more tournaments for me to try and participate, which at the time I sort of disagreed, because I'm a bit like, well, does that mean that you don't care and you're fine with losing? Because I don't think you should be fine with losing. I think you shouldn't have that fire. But when you think about it, what does that fire do to you when you're 4-7 behind? And by the way, I'm saying it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really mean that it won't happen to him anyway. But what it does do to you, especially when you're a player like Zhao Xington, it forces you to be taking more risks than you have in the previous frames. And when you think about, he may have improved his long shots accuracy a little bit because he was 0 out of 6. I think he's now 3 out of 9 in the second session, where he's made 3 most recent long shots, which is great. But the bottom line is he's lost every single frame ever since he had a 4-3 lead. And I did say, even if he loses those 4 frames, he would still be the favourite, but I did say a very important if he's able to find his form. So far, we haven't seen any signs of it, and of course, one thing that I didn't really think about at that time, if you lose 4 frames, you can't be playing well in a row, you can't be playing well. And that's something that I didn't really consider, but I still said he was going to have a chance. And I said that's probably the first frame where he won't be the favourite in my view, and he's certainly not going to be anywhere near to be the favourite now. It is Chang Minyu's match to lose. But the question is, how tight can he get there for Zhao Xington in relation to, if he gets tight to Chang Minyu, we haven't seen him to be experiencing this type of pressure where he's going to be so close towards winning a tournament, which I still think is going to have a massive impact on him, because he does come away very young, but also a player that crumbles under pressure quite badly. Just think about the quarterfinal that he had against Gary Wilson. Well, this is a horrible shot that he played. And you can criticize Zhao Xington for his safeties all you want, but I don't think you're playing the shot as bad as this. Out of nowhere, trying to transition the cue ball onto the black ball cushion and bouncing the red away from the black ball cushion. He's now left the red over the right middle. And one thing that Zhao had to be very careful, which once again would have been yet another sign of many that he is losing the plot there, was to be touching the ball colours. He didn't, which was very important for him to be, you know, top side of a blue. I think if he missed that red, I genuinely mean you could call the whole match away. It wouldn't make any sense because he was unmissable, but you know, making the cue ball to go into the ball colours was certainly availability, and good for him that he didn't manage to do that. Still, position is very closed, but everything is going to be closed there, all the doors, not just to winning the frame, but also winning the match there, and he's going to have to try and open them up there. He's been looking for the lock for the past 4 frames, and if he can't find the key, then he's going to have to try and just brute force his way. Whether he'll work or not, he won't really have a choice, because he's going to be very, very thin on time. I think Zhao will let Chang win. They know each other well since he's already number 1. It's not the way it works. And if I tell you what, if he was going to be letting... It's the same thing that people tell me that Trump let Lisowski win in the Northern Ireland Open. I think that's complete nonsense. Both of them, by the way, both Zhao and Trump are world number 1s. One currently, one previously. 2 world champions, 2 legends of the game on a different scale. Just want to say, one is not legend of the game yet. He's very much the best player right now. But anyway, I can't believe that you genuinely would think that both Trump and Xington to be happy to leave someone to win against them. To, first of all, lose them money, lose them a lot of money, not just prize money, but also for the sponsorship deals, etc. Lose them, obviously, some of the contracts they would have got because of that, but also lose them the title, so that they can be happy and a little bit cheerful about it. That's not the way that any competitive brain works, and I think that's very much ridiculous. Now, is he going to be something ridiculous there? His luck has not been great, but I think, well, let's see. I was about to say it's about to improve there. He played a really good sequence of shots to get himself top side of a blue. He's now playing the cannon, and he's on the border there, you know. Literally on the side of the table, but at the same time, he's borderline in relation to, well, that was always coming. It wasn't an easy shot that he left himself with, and he's still getting absolutely no actual technique to be getting himself out of those difficult shots. And yeah, I think it's getting worse, unfortunately for him. No friends in snooker winning, absolutely. It's that highest break price. He will be, and it's going to be heading towards Chang Min-yu for now, as we haven't seen any centuries. I think we've seen 6 breaks of 60 plus, of 50 plus I should say. Well, that was a brave attempt. I'm not going to say it was stupid. I'm not going to say it was reckless because he was brave, but I just don't think he played that shot as well as he could have there, Chang. Took a really good chance of taking the red away into the corner, which he made a fortune of in the last frame. But in the end, because of how tight he played that shot, the cue ball rattled in the jaws of the middle pocket or bounced away from the jaw. The red has stayed in the pocket. But yeah, at this stage, I don't know what he was playing for there, Zhao Xington, you know, because was he just trying to remove the red? Because that's what it seemed like. Yeah, I think he is struggling, and I think it is probably going to be down to a problem. Always take the lead, but halfway broke down. Yeah, I think I agree, but, you know, even though he was doing that, he still allowed himself to be winning half of those frames and keeping himself ahead. I feel like as soon as he allowed Chang to be getting himself in the lead, he's never been the same player ever since, and it's only been 2 frames before the start of the second mini session, and since the start of it as well. But as I say, when you lose 4 frames in a row during any point in the final, unless you've got 8-0 of a gap, you are going to find yourself in trouble. So we'll see what's going to happen, but at the same time, it will be down to a chance here for Chang Min-yu to be getting himself out of issues. And of course, that is going to be such a relief for him to see him leaving a red over the corner pocket, and someone like Zhao Xington not to be allowing it. Very much down to, you know, a chance not to be taken at all and just a single point scored of it. But we'll see. As I say, still no real signs, apart from him missing shots, that he is about to go into the reckless mode. But you never know. Well, that's not really a great sign, but I think that was reasonable at that stage, as he misses complete contact on the red. And he will be down to a shot on the cue ball that he's going to have to try and play again. Let me just try and deal this. Kevin, appreciate that, but once again, both you and Letitia are way too kind, trying to save the karma away. You know what you do to those people? You just ban them, because, you know, very unlikely you're going to be able to rehabilitate them in the chat within the space of a couple of meters. So yeah, don't force yourself, don't be too harsh on yourself, and don't do extra work. Thank you very much, Kevin, by the way. I appreciate the work that you're doing. Hello, this is a snooker chat. Exactly, Peter. Trump, Ronnie Roberts and Williams would have had centuries by now. They must be out of form a touch. Yeah, but I think, you know, I think it's a little bit unfair, because I think it's been a while since you've been watching Neil Robertson, by the way. If you think that, first of all, he's going to make his way to the final, did someone say something wrong? Yes, they have. But they're no longer here, so don't worry about it. Yeah, I think it's, as I say, it's been a while since we've seen Robertson in the final, and also since we've seen Robertson to be making century breaks. Yeah, as I say, Kevin, thank you very much. I appreciate the work. Trump, I don't really, well, by the way, same with Ronnie and Williams. So I don't really think Trump is probably the only one on the list which you could say is a reasonable name there to be mentioned. I think last season, the names that you could put in there, Wilson, maybe, Selby, definitely, someone like, what's his name, Murphy, for sure, Williams, maybe, but it's been a while. It's been nearly a year since he had that win over Sean Murphy at the Xi'an Grand Prix, which of course is now going to have a new name for anyone that doesn't know. It is now going to be called the Zhao Open, which it may as well be now. Joking aside, it is his home tournament and his home city for himself. So it may be renamed later. You never know. Xington Open, it actually does sound. But of course it is Zhensheng Open, which is the town where he's from. Come on, Chang. I love Chang. Support Zhao win. Well, I'll tell you what, a lot of support. Then we are getting ourselves a chance. Zhao will lose. Bet on me. Listen, you did say that from the beginning, which I was surprised. I'm pretty sure it was you, because a lot of people have been saying things. But listen, I'm going to be the stubborn man I am. I'm going to stick with him simply because, you know, switching to Chang Minyu right now is very easy, but it's quite difficult to try and grind it out. Although, if I waited before the end of this shot, I might have changed my mind there, because I think he's left yet another chance there for Chang Minyu of taking a red away. I'm just thinking, can he get through past the brown here? So maybe it's not too late for me to jump on that train, because it seems like I've gone to Dorridge rather than London. 7-4, please. Well, it is 7-4 for now, but the question is he going to be 8-4, or is he going to be 7-5? Which, of course, is still going to be one more frame there for Zhao Xington to try and win. And if he gets himself to 7-6, happy days, because we do have a final on our hands then. And even if Chang is going to be able to win the remaining frames, I'm always saying, if I'm neutral on this, which means Ronnie's not playing, I'm going to be happy if 10-7 is the scoreline, minimum. So 17 frames for me to see. For now, if Xington to win, of course that's going to happen, but, you know, if Chang Minyu is to win, you still feel like the scoreline that I predicted might be right, just the wrong player for me. Today Zhao play like a small boy. Well, listen, I think he doesn't really play that. He's got the experience of being the world champion. I think being a small boy is probably a bit weird, but it certainly seems like you switch them both in terms of you put Chang Minyu into the body of Zhao Xington and vice versa, and then it probably would make sense, because you've got someone like Chang struggling. It's a second ranking final. He's 7-4 down against the world champion. He's done well on occasions, but he's nervous, he's feeling pressure, and he can't get his game underway. But because it's Zhao that is having all those issues, it is a very weird thing to experience. And as I say, we've all been waiting for the announcement made by me and obviously made by history that Zhao Xington is going to be so much better in the second session. If anything, he's been a lot worse in the second session. Although, played a really good red there, and he is going to be on the pink. So maybe I should doubt him more often. That was a brilliant shot there, very risky. Plenty of consequences if he wasn't able to make that red in. But can he take this pink away? Because remember, sometimes it is from sublime to the ridiculous. The pink is still needs to be taken care of. And as you might have guessed, he's done it again. It's a brilliant shot on the reds. It's a horrible shot on the pink. And this is when I think it should be curtains for this match. Maybe not in this frame, but Chang Minyu needs to make sure he doesn't allow the tiger to get up there, and he needs to try and keep his foot on the tiger's neck, because it seems like Zhao has left his game very much in the hotel room, but it doesn't seem like he didn't really take it to himself with, Wuhan entirely. Although that's not really the way that you want to begin this break there from Chang, because, okay, he wants to be getting the black away down the table, but certainly not with the price of having the cue ball to go a long way around. But I suppose he's got plenty of reds to choose from, but he still needs to be playing very carefully of trying to get the cue ball to the designated area, which he has done, to be fair. Zhao 5 centuries and Chang 4 in the series. And yes, you're not allowed to jump ship in midstream. I want to, please. So if I could change my ticket to a return, I would be happy to be paying for it, because right now I don't want to go on this train. But seriously speaking, yeah, it does seem like it is all over, but there's always a chance for Chang Minyu to make a mistake, but he's just way too similar type of a story there. Every single time he goes well on one shot, maybe on even the second one, but there's always going to be a third or the fourth where the mistake is going to come from absolutely nowhere. And if anything, it does remind me badly of the match of Chang Minyu against Ronnie, where Chang is probably playing about as well as he has against Ronnie. But, I mean, I am getting to the stage where I'm probably going to say Zhao is playing as badly as Ronnie O'Sullivan, and I don't think I was going to say that about anyone after seeing the performance of O'Sullivan, but I'm sorry, but that's just the way it's gone. You know, O'Sullivan was able to win 3 frames against Chang in the 9 frames. Zhao was able to win 4 in 11. Might make that 4 in 12 right now. And so many mistakes that, once again, as I say, some brilliant shots they're flying in that you always feel like, well, now is going to be the redemption. This is where you have to start the countdown. If he comes back, this is where it started. And it seems like he's always starting out and then breaking down in the middle of the road without even getting past the first corner. Big frame here for match outcome. Well, it is, but, you know, unless we are going to see a mistake from Chang Minyu, and unfortunately for the intrigue, fortunately for him, there's not really a raid that I would say is a difficult one. As a package, maybe, but if you treat them individually, I don't see a way for him to try and stumble on. He will need all 4 raids, but as I say, I think that was the big problem with taking that pink on. But the alternative about the pink is that it wasn't such a difficult shot there, because I wasn't even thinking that, listen, if it's Zhao on any other day of the week, apart from Saturday, which may still be coming down to an excuse, you know, it's the only final that he would have lost on a Saturday, I'm pretty sure, because they always get played on a Sunday, but, you know, maybe for the stat lovers, they're still going to say, well, he never lost a ranking event final on Sunday, and next time around, he's never lost a ranking event final on Sunday past 12 o'clock or whatever, but I think he's not going to be too far away from losing one on Saturday here, as Chang Minyu gets yet another black in. He gets himself onto 48 points. Once again, very consistent when he comes down to scoring points with the black, and yeah, I think he's just managed to maybe not improve, but be a very steady player. As I say, he had his bad moments already in the session, but he's had very few of them. Nearly had one there, with how close he got to the black at the end, but still very straight, and there is still a little bit of a margin for him to just slow the cue ball down, play for the red, and of course 3 more shots and then he'll get the frame on the board. Interesting to see. Well, interesting to see, not so much to experience. I don't know why I'm getting excited. As I say, I don't think there's any reason to be. Even if he doesn't win the frame right now, you know, there's going to be plenty more issues, and unfortunately you would feel mistakes there from Zhao, but he might still go for the red. It's not the red that he was playing for, which makes it a lot more difficult, but he's been making those shots in, and once again he does make the shot in, so now it's a black, which is going to be the frame ball, and if he was able to take that red away into the left corner, he certainly shouldn't experience any issues with the black there. So, TNT, how can you watch live free? Well, interesting, but TNT ain't certainly going to be free there. Oh, he's missed the black. He's missed the black there. Where did that come from? Am I going to get excited? Can I still jump the train, please? Because I still think it won't change anything. But yeah, whatever you say about Chang, he's not been perfect, but he's clearly been performing 7 out of 10, you would say. Probably 6.5 sometimes. But for Zhao Xingtong, for his level, it's a 2. For the overall level, maybe it's a 4.5. So, yeah, still plenty of work to do, but at least he's alive. You know, the black is now covering that red. So, let's see what he's going to try and achieve here. Trying to get the snooker lines up on the black. Not sure how much of it is he actually received there, because, you know, the cue ball being on the black ball cushion, it's very difficult to try and swerve this one away. So he's going to have to seemingly go for a shot throughout the entire length of the table. GG's frame. Well, not quite, Kevin. I think he will be all down to a chance of playing the cue ball off. I mean, if he plays this one off the side cushion and he gets it, then he's a magician, because there's literally 0.5%, probably even less than that, of a table which is going to be good enough. He doesn't want to leave a free ball away. Well, is that a foul? I tell you what, that was lucky. I don't care what you say, but that was lucky, because that was so close to getting the black in, and that was also so close to giving the free ball away, which the free ball, which would have been so much of an issue there. But you know, Zhao Xingtong is not going to give this one up too easily, although I don't think he's really listened to me there. Well, he put the red to be away from the black, which I don't know if it's available. It certainly is available, but is it going to be an easy shot that he considers? But he sort of, allowed himself to be off the hook there of Chang Minyu, because, you know, surely he had to do at least one of those two things right. Either get the red to be covered by the black, or get the cue ball into a place which for sure would have been intervening with the yellow and brown. It didn't really work out, and now Pressure Hay does interesting things. Yeah, it wasn't the most straightforward shot there, but you still feel... I don't think there is going to be any pressure on him, I have to say. Pressure is when you're going to be feeling nervous. I think, I have to say, you're going to be pretty stupid to be feeling nervous now. to be precisely honest with you. I think he needs to be smart enough to understand he's 4-7 clear. He's 31 points clear. Maybe if it's a 9-4 of a lead, then you're always going to be nervous because of how much you realise how close you are. But if you're getting nervous now, you'll be nervous when you get in the morning. This is because you heard something bad on the news. Brilliant shot there from Xingtong. How much of the prize is this shot going to have for him? Well, camera, thank you. I've seen his face many times. Can I see what's happening at the table? Yes, I can. Well, not great, but not terrible, which usually means bad things from Zhao Xingtong's point of view so far in this match, especially in the second session. Yeah, very difficult cut on the black, which guarantees nothing. A very difficult shot on the pink, which guarantees that you won't be on the yellow. Well, he's gone for the black. He makes the black in, which is a start. And is he going to be on the yellow? Well, if he's going to be on the yellow, he's going to be on the side cushion as well. Well, is it worth to be taking the yellow on? The yellow is not really the frame ball there for Chang Minyu, which is the only colour which will give him that luxury. So I think maybe he should take the yellow on and then just try and battle for the green, because if he battles for the yellow, he's going to have to try and give another battle to be won on the green. But it was always difficult to pot the yellow. Let's see where he's going to go. To me, he was always going to go safe, and he did, to a certain extent. I don't think Chang Minyu is going to fancy his chances too much. One red left. Now there is no reds left. There is a battle for the yellow. The green is out of position, but ultimately, both of the players will need the green. Of course, Chang will need that after he's guaranteed himself a respot, if he is to pot the yellow. Or, of course, alternatively, if Xingtong is to pot the yellow, then any other colour will be a frame ball for Chang Minyu. But once again, it's a long shot available. Maybe it's a smart bait, that. Because if Zhao Xingtong, of course, needs to leave the yellow away, he doesn't really get anything from potting the yellow in itself, apart from a difficult shot on the green. He went for it. Well, I'm not sure he went for it, actually, because of how far away he was. And how reasonable the colour is, the cue ball is, actually. It's a weird shot, that, because he never got the cue ball to be far enough from the yellow, but at the same time, he also nearly got the snooker on the brown, so you would expect that probably to be a safety shot. Although, with this standard of play, unfortunately, you never know. Thanks for letting us know where the ball's at. Well, as I say, no worries about it. Thank you for everyone watching. As I say, it's not really... I think the 5-4 of a scoreline was probably the perfect setup. It's not really been the perfect setup for the second session, though. It's a good shot from Chang. He didn't want a contact on the blue, though, but he put the yellow into a position where he's always going to be safe. pretty much no matter where the cue ball is, as long as it's not right behind it. And it's not. So, well, it's an interesting one because Zhao would want to try and use the brown. He wants some points here, you know. I think he certainly could do with 4 or 5 points to be given away as a foul shot. Also trying to get the green to be taken away. And I tell you what, he may have managed to pull a shot of the match. Maybe not shot of the match, shot of the frame there. Maybe even shot of the session. Although I think there's already been a couple of contenders for that. But he certainly got the snooker in. As I was saying, he can do with a couple of, you know, foul points. Because, of course, that would put him pretty much in the same position there for Chang and for himself. Horrible shot there. I don't know what he's doing there, Chang. He caught the black. Nearly potted the cue ball. He potted the cue ball at the end. Well, I was expecting Zhao to get reckless. But that was very weird there from Chang Minyu. And, of course, something that I forgot is that a Mistral is now going to have to be in play. 16 points is the lead there for Chang Minyu. So, once again, he wasn't anywhere near, by the way, in the yellow. He was a lot closer to the black and the pink than he was to be catching the yellow there. So, a lot of adjustment, but also the way that he's taking the shot with so much power, I wonder how he's going to be able to control this one. But ultimately now, the yellow and green won't be enough here for Chang. And once again, nowhere near to be on the yellow. I'll tell you what, he genuinely could find himself to be in all sorts of trouble there. It's 14 points that he's given away in 2 shots. Well, not going to make the same mistake of saying, well, it's going to be the game changer, but certainly doesn't seem like it's going to plan there for Chang, because the 23 points of a lead has now turned into 9 points of a lead that he has, and the points at the table still haven't changed. And still, once again, nowhere near to be catching the yellow on the previous time of asking, so we'll see how close he can get on the 3rd attempt. But I'm very, very surprised how much power he's taken on this shot. It seems like doesn't really have any confidence in himself. It looks like a strange match to me. Well, as I say, I would hopefully be seeing a lot closer one. Well, that was very close. And the cue ball once again is going to find the target of the pocket. So Chang Minyu, certainly if it was a mission to try and get the cue ball to be getting in the pocket after a couple of cushions, then he would get in the wall for that, alongside Zhao Gudong. But in the end, that's not really what the snooker is all about. But the 3rd attempt was a lot better. It was very, very close towards get the yellow. And, you know, a minor adjustment here could, of course, mean a massive line change. But as I say, he still can't really afford to be hitting the yellow full ball, which he hit. And let's see if he's fluked it. Wow, he's fluked the yellow. I tell you what, it's incredible. He's not going to get anything from it, you would feel. And probably Zhao can't be too frustrated with that one either. But if you were thinking that was a strange match to you, I wonder what you're going to say about this one now. Well, how about that for a result? As I say, he's given away how many? 18 points in 3 shots. But on the 4th attempt, he got the yellow and he potted into the middle as well. Well, I did say he was looking to try and catch the yellow full ball, and he did. I'm not quite going to say that I pictured it going into the right middle, especially from the angle that he did. I mean, surely he's not going to try and attempt the green. It's exactly on the cushion. But, yeah, I mean, I think the only counterpoint to that being a bad idea is that, well, what else has he got to do? How can you play a good safety when you've got the cue ball to be pretty much alongside the green, onto the side rail? You may as well try and take it. Well, very close to the double kiss, but I think this is when, that's the reason I was saying, you may as well have gone for it, because now, even though it's a long shot that he's left, it's a chance for Zhao Xington. And if this doesn't bring him into the contention for the match in relation to winning this frame, with everything that's happened, then nothing will. And of course, there's still no guarantee that he will win this frame. It's now a battle for the green. There's no more colours out of place. And, well, one thing I would say is that referee's there, pretty much begging on his knees there, trying to ask the audience to calm down. Yeah, that doesn't really happen in Germany, does it? And you know why? Because in Germany or in England or in the UK, they know if you do that, you get kicked out, and rightly so. I think Chinese fans and organisers are a little bit too kind there. How about the screwback? The perfect shot was there in terms of the pot, and look at that, once again, no reaction. It seems like he's just managed to deliver, you know, an order there for himself for lunch. Absolutely stunning shot on the green, now being on the brown. The most incredible frames, he's always had one of those in this tournament, and he's always been resurrected in the performance ever since those frames. Well, let's see. He's not far away from coming back from the dead here as well. How costly that black is going to be for Chang Min-yu. Remember, it all started with that black to be missed into the right corner, which I said at the time, I still think it won't mean a massive difference. But I also said a couple of frames ago, you must stop playing with fire, because you give him so many chances. On one of them, he will actually bite you. And he has bitten now. It is Zhao Xington with a clearance of 18 points. And it is him that will be winning that 12th frame. You never quite know what's going to happen. It was a massive frame, number 5, that he won as well. Number 7, I should say. Number 5, sorry. Didn't really change the whole course of the match. Is this going to change it now? Chang Min-yu was so close to be getting himself an 8-4 of a lead. In the end, it is Zhao Xington that gets himself 5-7 of a deficit. Not something that I thought I'd be, cheering for to keep the intrigue in the match. But that was the reality of this performance. And once again, you have to ask the questions of Chang Min-yu. What have you done on that previous clearance? Especially, when he was playing for the penultimate raid, you played for the wrong raid. You got the wrong raid in. It was by far the most difficult shot. Then there was a brilliant shot off the right corner that Zhao Xington was able to take, but so much has gone on there. But in the end, as I say, he's always had one of those strange frames, and he's always seems to have won them at all times there. So, and you know what happens ever since he's done that against Robertson? He hasn't lost a frame. Against Hawkins, hasn't lost a frame. So we'll now see what's going to happen. Game on. Well, probably not so much. I think we need one more frame there from Zhao Xington, first of all, to make sure that he is up for it, but also to make sure that, if it is 8-5, you may as well not bother for the previous frame, but it is 6-7, especially since you're going to have an intermission. Brilliant. 13 frames in, as I say, pretty much guaranteed to have the minimum target for me, which is 17 frames, and then whoever wins. Certainly both of them have played some great snooker at times, as we've seen in the previous frame. Horrific at times as well. But in the end, that's what makes close finals. And we still need one more frame there, from Xington's point of view, to make this final to be close as well. As long as Chang needs a frame to win the match, then Xington always has a chance. Yeah, but I don't really like those points. Because as long as I get myself in the draw for the British Open, I always have a chance of winning against O'Sullivan. But only because he withdraws. But if I was in a draw against Trump, I always have a chance of winning. It's just that chance is going to be less than 0.01%. There's always an opportunity, but you need to make sure you're actually going to have a realistic chance of trying to take away there. And I disagree. I think if you look at Weiser, I think if you look at Lisowski, I think if you look at Chang Min-yu to a certain extent, Chris Wakelin for sure last season, they didn't really need 5 times to try and get themselves over the finish line. Weiser needed 2 frames. Wakelin needed 1 frame. Lisowski needed, I think, 2 frames. And who was the last one? Chipchaya needed a single frame there to get themselves, when they were 1 frame away from winning the final, they were all able to win it straight away. And that was it the first ranking title for Chipchaya as well? Because that would have been reigning for the ranking titles for the first time. Because Wakelin, Lisowski, Chipchaya is 3. And who was the 4th one? Weiser. Yeah, incredible actually that he's won his first ranking event last season, and yet he's already a world champion. Yeah, a lot of things can change in a couple of months. I like your channel. It's handy if you can't watch it just to see what happens in the score. Yeah, I mean, once again, it's the target is to try and make it. Even if you can watch it, then you can still tune in. But I think that's probably something down the line. But something that is not going to be down the line there for Zhao Xington is trying to win a frame here, because if he does find himself to be in the position of trying to get this gap down to even fewer than 2 frames, then obviously logic, he needs to try and win this frame as well. But it'll be interesting to see the response, not just from himself, but also from Chang Min-yu. Usually the first couple of shots do tell you the picture. For now, the first couple of shots do tell you that he is going to catch the yellow with the cue ball, but with no reds available, it's not really going to be something that Zhao Xington could exploit, but he certainly could have done without leaving a red over the corner. Let's see if he's got the cover. Well, I'll tell you what, he might have got the cover here, because The cue ball is right at the top of the table, very close towards the ball cushion. He clearly doesn't fancy his chances of coming back to the table. But if I was going to say something, I actually do fancy his chances of coming back to the table, because I think this is a lot more difficult than it looks. Well, he's mishit it. What did I tell you? What did I tell you? And that's exactly because of what happened in the previous frame. You cannot convince me for the life of me that it would have happened if Chang wins that previous frame. This is when pressure is going to come in. And this is when Zhao needs to make sure he pulls the trigger and he's absolutely going to go for the kill. For now, of course, still trying to stay alive when he comes down to the scoreline. But I think we're going to see a lot more of that from Chang if Zhao is going to keep on applying the pressure. By applying the pressure, of course, I mean getting chances like this. And when he does, he needs to stop messing around and make sure he starts to be putting in the breaks, which I'm pretty sure we still haven't seen anything higher than a break of 40 points, which is very much out of order for Chang Minyu. So then, 6 points is the lead. The position, as always, is interesting because I don't think we ever get, in this final, we ever got the position which was easy from the get-go. Not really the shot that Zhao was looking to play. I think it's, a necessary bounce that he got on the cue ball towards the blue. I don't know why he decided to put some side spin on it. But yeah, it's not really the way that he wanted to play the shots, especially since he's running very low on the reds. And he's now going to have to take the cue ball on the journey around the entire table, as well as having to pot the green with a rest. The green is in, the cue ball is traveling, but it's also coming too close towards the side cushion, perfectly on the side cushion actually. So once again, just, being in the position where Chang Minyu has found himself at, but the main difference between the two of them is that when Chang found himself with shots to play and take away at a very key point of the match, he was always able to do that. And once again, just one shot short there from Zhao. And once again, he was perfectly on the block, but he didn't get the red in. But I think he didn't leave that same red available. So it doesn't seem like he'll be a fairy tale story. Or has he left this red? When Chang Minyu is looking at a situation like this, it does usually suggest that he's about to play the red, which, I wouldn't say I'm surprised, but certainly from when I look at this camera angle, I don't feel like that's on. Even less so now. But let's see. Well, that was a great shot there. Very brave shot too. Let's see what sort of angle is he going to have. Not great on the blue. I think unless he's got a couple of those reds to be available into the right corner, he's got no chance of making this shot work. So he's going to have to go for another option there. But another option being the green won't really give him anything else. So what can he do off this shot on the blue? And yeah, as I say, Zhao needs to be doing better there because, as I say, he had that chance after such a massive mistake from Chang. But I think if Zhao is going to be messing around again, which, well, he might have been doing, but yeah, actually, don't get excited too much. He missed the blue there, Chang Minyu, but the shot that he played into the reds didn't really, result in anything good. But yeah, once again, now we're seeing both players to struggle. And I said one thing that I said I can't really see both of them to be playing well at the same time. I have to say, I couldn't really see both of them playing badly at the same time. But it seems like something that's happening here, which is surprising, but at the same time, it's also quite exciting to be watching because I still think the level is less than what you would expect, but at the same time, it's probably, going to be interesting to be watching the downfall of Chang Minyu and a little rise of Zhao, although, as I say, nothing that would make you feel like it's a material which would be good enough to win a ranking event, because I'll tell you what, if Zhao wins this ranking event from how he's played, even in the previous couple of rounds, but just the inconsistency, not having a match from start to finish when he played well in any of those matches, but also not playing until very much this stage of a final, and I don't think he played well at all. I think, once again, you're always going to have a good frame here and there, but from start to finish, not to be making any of the errors, I don't think that's been the case for him. Only reached Scottish final. I think that chap hasn't won any title yet. Yeah, he's had a final against Wakeland last season, but by the way, after eliminating everyone on his way, I think he eliminated Allen, Selby, Wilson. Who did he play in the semis? Can't remember. Can't remember who he played in the semis. But yeah, he certainly eliminated some of the heavyweights as well. Might have eliminated Higgins as well for the Scottish Open, which is massive. And yeah, just was leading 2-1. It all seemed like he was going to be very much in contention, but he was a massive favourite before the match against Wakeland. But completely blown it. Couldn't recover for the rest of the session, and the way that the home nations matches are played, I think it was 9 frames that played, 7-2 after the first session, never recovered in the second one either, and was just losing 8 frames in a row at the end. 9 frames to 2 was the result. Would be a miracle for Zhao, good result. Yeah, I mean, exactly. I still think he's quite far away from that, but he's closer than he was at a certain stage of the previous frame, although, as I say, still a long way to go for him, and a lot of an improvement that he has got to come up with. Well, I mean, that was a weird shot from Chang Minyu, not necessarily risky of leaving the red there, but risking a double kiss on the cue ball, which, for a cross double like that, where the red just about bounces away from the side cushion, is always, an interesting thing to be seeing. But I don't think he played that shot well enough anyway, so that there will be a chance for Xington to try and cut one of those reds to the corner. It's a good line. It's a really good line as well. He wasn't a good touch of the red. And please don't go in the cue ball. When did it listen to me? Well, it didn't actually go in. But it's actually stayed in a position where you won't be able to pot the yellow. He's smiling about it, but I think he could have done with getting a lot more firmer of a kiss on the green. And slowing the cue ball right down. It would have put him right back in the window of trying to win that particular frame as well. But at least he's now not going to have a ball in hand for his opponent, which of course would allow him to be taking the chance away. So then, still an opportunity of playing the yellow away. Well, that was... when I said playing the yellow away, I meant playing a safety shot. I couldn't even think that he was going to try and attempt it. A reckless shot, didn't learn the lesson, nowhere near it, and... once again, the only good news is that. And once again, no reaction at all, apart from a little bit of disappointment. But no emotion that he's shown. But always leaving that red over the middle, which was the surprising thing for me. Because if you play a decent safety shot, then you felt like there was always going to be trouble there for Chang. Because he would have had to do something with that red. Right now, he's going to have to try and do something with the black there. But didn't work out. And in the end... he's still going to have a long way to go there when he comes down to a shot on the pink to be taken into the right middle. So could have certainly done with being on the black. Let's see what can he make with the pink, but he needs to make the pink in first, That front jaw seems to be looking very far at you. He got the pink in. No luck, it would seem. He's run out of that as well. So then, not a happy man indeed. Playing some good shots there, but all of a sudden there are cracks starting to appear in his game, and they do come from the most unexpected places there. And after playing a really good shot on the pink, there felt like there was not a lot more that he could have done. In the end, it's not really something that he's going to achieve with that shot, and there will be 3 points of a deficit for him to try. No Tom breaking final yet says a lot. He does, but I think we've seen a lot of breaks of 50 plus there, and I think we've seen a lot of high value breaks as well. So he probably does tell you that the overarching standard hasn't really been there, but I still think, I think we're missing a lot more of those frames where you want to nil. We haven't had any of those in, 13 frames now, because you can't have it in this one either. And it always seems like everyone gets a chance there, as if it's a charity and not a competition event. So, it just seemed like he needs to be a lot more clinical with those chances, but neither player has been. Pretty much at any stage of this match. Maybe you could say when Chang Minyu has managed to win the remaining 2 frames of the first session and the first 2 of the second session. But even then, I would still say it was more of a Zhao struggling, because he was still getting the first chances in. He's just not able to put them into the actual points for himself. Hello, Zhao. You need to create your own big break. Cannot depend on Chang errors. And I think that's what he's doing right now. I think he's waiting for an error. Let's see if he's going to get one. There's a chance of Chang Minyu to trying to cut the reds in towards the right corner. Well, listen, for now, waiting for errors doesn't seem like it's something which is a bad strategy there. The error has come. The question is the red going to come with the error? Well, he's looking at 3 reds. He needs the one in the middle to be available, and it is. Well, this is now the time for you to try and step up to the game, because you certainly... Whoa, that was close. The red just about wobbled and decided to drop there. which I appreciate there from the Reds, but don't really appreciate from Zhao Xington. Once again, that was supposed to be one of the easy introduction shots. Once again, getting the cue ball with so much backspin, but yeah, I mean, he's going to be alright for a while, simply because of how many Reds he's got around the table. But he still needs to do something with his positional play, because I think the further we go into the final, the more, visible it becomes that his biggest trouble is not really pot success, it's just down to having the cue ball to be absolutely all over the place. And it's something that he's had pretty much throughout the entire tournament, which, for me, it would suggest that he's not really happy with the cloth, happy with the table, because you can't see a man like him to be struggling with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches. You would have played around 100 frames on this cloth. Well, probably a little bit less, to be fair. Around 50. And he's still nowhere near to be seeing the cue ball to be doing exactly what he wants to. So, as I say, there's still plenty of work for him to try and improve on. But at the same time, he does seem like he is going to be getting himself right back into the mix for this particular match. And after being 5-4 down, he was 4-7 down as well. One shot away, you could argue, on the black from being 8-4 down as well. But in the end, he's now got a 5-star opportunity to try and make it down to 7th place 6 in favour of Chang Minyu. But I think that's probably going to be the only thing which will be the favour of himself at the start of that 14th frame. Because there certainly has been a massive comeback from Zhao Xington. Both are cagey and edgy. No big scorings unless leads by 3. Well, true, but nobody has managed to lead by 3 frames, apart from, of course, Zhao Xington in the previous frame, which is, once again, incredible. That the biggest lead that Zhao Xington had was 2-0. Didn't allow Chang to be winning until 9th frame, and then all of a sudden just dropped off the cliff there when it seems like he was going to be the man to try and step up to the plate and deliver. It didn't really work out, and now there is going to be still plenty more points to score there. But this is, once again, this has been exactly what Zhao Xington needed. A position as simple like this, where apart from 2 more shots that he needs, there wasn't really anywhere to make a mistake. And there's not really any credit that you can give to him either, because it wasn't a long shot that he made that work with. He barely dropped the first red, which was the introduction, and the whole chance came there because of the mistake from Chang Minyu's point of view. So, there's a lot of things that you can praise him in this match. Probably not a lot, but there are some. But I don't think anything about this particular frame, because just very, very poor when it comes down to overarching picture. But when it comes down to the result, you could not have hoped for anything more, because at 4-7 down, to find yourself being just 1 frame away from having this match to be tied, it's certainly going to be entertaining the fans to a great extent. And now it will be down to 6 frames for Zhao Xington, 7 for Chang Minyu, and it's still all to play for, as we do see what seems like the first break of 50 plus from Zhao Xington in that second session, which probably tells you everything you need to know about his own performance, when a scorer like him is going to have to be happy with a break of 53 points, which is the luxury for him, would seem. Zhao gone favourite now. I wouldn't really go that far. Probably on the books and the paper he would, but I still have seen absolutely nothing which would make me feel like he's playing anywhere near his best. As I said yesterday, I think he was able to find gear 5 at the end of his match against Xiao Guodong, and maybe even gear 6 right now. I still don't think he's had, consecutive shots where he's managed to reach gear 4 at times, being stuck in gear 2 or 1 there. Playing a great shot on the red though, finding himself to be on the brown, or rather the yellow, as he decided, trying to make 1 final red to be available. But in the end, the cue ball is going to find the target anyway, as it is going to be a foul shot to bring the foul points total to very much 12 for Zhao Xington. And in the end, it will be the intermission, which Zhao Xington has forgotten about. Chang Minyu is not going to be coming back to the table here, and it will be the end of a break. Just saw in Google that next week British Open games are a best of 7 until quarterfinals. I've seen many big names exited early due to best of 7, which is exactly why I absolutely hate that format, because you always see a couple of numpties, as Ronnie would call them, to be making their way towards the final, and then when you ask for a performance, they never bloody deliver. Because guess what? I'm not going to say anyone can win the best of 7 format, but a lot more people can win a match of best of 7 rather than trying to win a match of best of 11 or first to 5. I think first to 5 and first to 4 is one of the biggest differences in snooker that you can possibly imagine, even though it seems like it's only 1 frame. For me, It is completely two different universes. Yes, best of 7 brings different score. Yeah, let's just hope that we are going to see a couple of seeded players in the British Open. But for now, we've got other things to worry about. We still got the Wuhan Open to be very much on the rise. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about that formidable frame number 12. Because we've got 15 minutes. That might still not be enough there. What a frame it was. And let's start from the beginning. Let's start from that pink, which Zhao has missed into the left middle. Had been 30 points clear, playing a really good shot on the red that got him on that pink with a long shot, brilliant stroke. And as I said at that time, is this going to be finally the time which resurrects him? But I did say, careful about the pink. It's a straightforward shot. There's nothing to worry about. You just need to play well. And you can see that he's a man with no confidence because you never see those shots to be missed from the backhand jaw. Because if you're using the backhand jaw, which probably already suggests that you're not really confident with yourself, the fact that he's used too much of it, and so much, it wasn't even wobbling, it just bounced straight back at you. He was clearly afraid of touching any sign of the front jaw, which suggests that he's absolutely no confidence with his cueing, and therefore, how many total frames have to win Zhao to win the tournament? 10, book reader. Tea break and noodle time, thanks. So you think, yeah, exactly. Thank you very much, Kevin, for the support, and thank you for the work as the mod as well. Yeah, so that was the beginning of the end from what I thought, because I look at the position and I'm telling you that, well, what's going to happen. By the way, I mean, talk about no century breaks. We still got 60, 65, 76, 78, the highest break from Zhao Xington. We've got 57, 62, 76, 78 from Chang Minyu. I mean, anything but nice, you would seem, but still no centuries out there for us to see. First to 10 wins indeed. So then, you look at that position, you think Chang Minyu has got full control of it, there's nowhere that he can make a mistake, but somehow, the closer he gets towards the finish line, the more you feel like there is a little bit of nervousness in the air, which I think is completely unacceptable, and I did say it at that stage, a little bit later on in the same frame, but he should not have absolutely allowed any sign of pressure at such an important frame. He was at 4-7, it's a 12th frame. Zhao Xington is at his lowest throughout, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. He hasn't played this bad since his match against Zhang Anda, where he lost in the first rounds. I don't think he's played a match this bad or a session this bad ever since the start of the season. And he's had some pretty shocking results as well when it comes down to, valuing it per session. Then, we get to the last 2 raids. Chang Minyu, after playing the 3rd last raid, he's on the black, he's a little bit out of position, he takes the black away, he positions himself nicely to be on the red, onto the right corner in his head, but in reality, he can't quite manage it, so you feel like break is over, he's going to have to play a safety, but apart from that red on the side cushion, he's also got a red to be taken into the left corner, so he decides to go for it, which is absolutely fine at that stage of a frame. But you feel like, well, if he goes for it, he needs to make it. And guess what he does? He does make it in. He does make that red in, and he's nicely on the black. Yes, it's not the easiest black, but it is probably a little bit harder than the Mark Cullen's black that he missed. But nothing more extraordinary. And, it's a frame ball. It's a shot which always is going to drop him on the red, which even if you can't pot the red, you can always put it over the pocket, make sure there's not going to be any free ball or anything. And that shot was going to put him 2 snookers clear. So what does he do? Or 1 snooker clear, I should say. What does he do? He misses the black. He misses the black. Okay, at least he's managed to cover up the pocket. But what started there has never finished until the end of the 13th frame. Because that was certainly pressure, as Kevin said. I said, don't be ridiculous. You can't have pressure at this stage. It's way too important. You're a professional snooker player. Well, guess what? You can't control when he comes. But you need to be in control and in charge of your body, and he wasn't. He played a horrible ending to that frame. Zhao Xington was still nowhere near his best until the formidable shot that he had on the green, taking it the entire distance to pot it into the corner, but that was so far down. The first was a red that he was taken away into the left part of the table. He wasn't able to get himself perfectly on the black, but he recovered well. And once again, that black, if he misses the black, he needs snookers, and he's 4-8 down. He's got no chance. He's got no control of the queuing to try and get any sort of snookers in himself. What he does then is has a very lengthy safety bat on the yellow manages to snooker Chang Minyu on the yellow after a really good shot that he played. Chang then decides to do something ridiculous, gives away 18 points in 3 shots, which is touching the black twice and potting the cue ball once. Then he manages to get in on the 4th time, and not only does he get the yellow, he also pots it into the right middle, which from just the explanation you can guess how crazy of a frame it was. But then what does he do? He plays a safety, he thinks about it for a very long time, he plays a safety of shot off the green, and 1 shot off the green was enough to leave that green available. Zhao needed perfect cueing, and for once in this match, he managed to step up when he needed to. He played the green really well. He managed to avoid any more mistakes on brown, blue and pink. He won that frame. He was a lot more confident for him on the 13th frame. Chang Minyu clearly didn't recover yet. And now, we are going to have to wait and see what's going to happen in frame number 14. But you have to say, the best chance of Chang Minyu to be winning this match is already gone. And whatever happens now, I suppose not whatever happens. By the way, let's have a look how Liverpool are doing. 2-2. Thank you. I should not have looked. Let's have a look where we scored. And of course, they've got more expected goals than us. Yeah, I should not have looked. Anyway, I'm going to have a look where we actually scored there. But, I mean, when you have a match like this against Newcastle where you got 2 each, well, you could say, well, it's the same James's Park, you're away. Maybe you're going to be happy with it, but surely not against Nottingham Forest. Please don't tell me we're winning 2-0. Yeah, we were. No, once again, we had to equalise. Well, at last. Anyway, back to the snooker. What happens from here is an interesting question, because you probably have to say, well, probably you're going to have to say that Chang Minyu doesn't really happen from now. You are going to have to see a response from Zhao Xingtong's point of view. And if he does allow, Chang Minyu to be taking control over this one, well, I think there's going to have to be some questions asked there, because there is going to be always a bit of a pressure and a bit of an experience moment, but I think we are beyond that stage. I think when you've got a 7-4 lead, I think when you're so close and you don't deliver, you need to make sure you deliver in a couple of the next frames. And unfortunately for him, he hasn't done that so far, and he's now going to have to come away under pressure, not just from his opponent, but also from himself. I think if he was putting himself under pressure in the 12th frame, you can only imagine what's going to happen in the 14th frame and onwards. Because 8-6 is nowhere near as confident as 8-4. And for 8-6 to happen, he needs to win this 14th frame, which for now, let's be honest, it looks nothing like doing it. So we'll see. I think the 13th frame was very much, a bit of a patch over the flood from Zhao Xingtong, because it was a very easy position that he had. I think, as somebody said in the chat, I think he was waiting for a mistake from Chang Minyu. And guess what? The mistake did come. And that mistake cost him a break of 60 points or so, which was the highest, by far the highest that we've seen of Zhao Xingtong in session 2. But at the same time, it was a strategy which was risky, because you are going to be just inviting the pressure. And if that red goes in from Chang, all right, he might have not been on the colour, but I think it still would have injected a little bit of confidence and positivity on him. I think that would have been a different story. And for now, you're still going to have to be in that position where, unfortunately, you do have to, find yourself to be in that struggle mode. He needs to try and recover. The best and probably the only way for someone like Chang Minyu to recover is forget about Zhao Xingtong. I don't think it still matters what he's going to do. He certainly would help if he's going to be able to stay in his no man's land zone and playing, like crap, let's be fair. But I think if Zhao Xingtong does start to play well, but even if he doesn't, I think we're beyond that stage where you are going to be in some sort of control. I think Chang Minyu is going to have to step up to the game, and he's going to have to start playing well. Because if he doesn't, unfortunately, it will be too late. It might be too late now, but I still think if he gets that frame on the board very early into this session, he might be able to salvage something about it, because at that stage, you may be just going to look at it and then say, well, you know what? It could have been 8-4, it's now 8-6, I'm still only in need of 2 more frames for me to win. And at that stage, I'm still going to back myself to be getting over the finish line, because, I'm a lot closer to the target than my opponent is. So we'll see what's going to happen, but at the same time, I think it will all come down to a chance for Zhao Xingtong. And if he takes that one away, I think there will be a real conversation to be had about Chang Min-yu really bottling it and not being able to get himself over the finish line. Whether that's going to happen or not, we'll have to wait and see. For now, the reality is Zhao Xington is having a couple of frames of his life there, really, in terms of the results. Still nowhere near his best when he comes down to the game, but he certainly managed to up the pace. He certainly had a couple of decent breaks there. One of 18 points, one of 60, but you have to say the break of 18 points was a lot more important to him. And that certainly was the reason why he's still very much coming into this 14th frame, being alive and still being in contention for winning this Wuhan Open. And that, of course, would be probably the biggest win apart from the World Championship, because I know he's managed to win the UK and it's his first ranking event win, but still, I think at this stage, it is going to be such a massive win for him that you are going to have to put the sentiment behind it. And purely from where he was and how close he was to defeat, to try and turn it around as he's done before. You know, one thing I would say, and I did bring it up beforehand, when he had those key frames against Hawkins and Robertson, where he looked like he was out, he had no chance to recover, he never lost a frame since. And I know he's had the same frame against Zhao Guodong in the first frame, but obviously he's lost frames after that. But I think if you're going to be experiencing that in the first frame, then you're always going to happen to be losing a couple of other frames as well. But at the end stage, you'll probably be down to another opportunity, which, you know, may come your way, but also you're going to have to be there when the chances come to you. You need to try and utilize them, something that he hasn't done so far, and unfortunately, something that has cost him as well. So we'll see how dearly it's going to cost him, because, you know, it's already made, you know, if he is going to win, it's going to be a very uncomfortable win, but I still think it's going to taste even better if he's going to be able to come away with a victory despite not playing anywhere his best. Just a glimpse on the score. Come on, Zhao. Well, indeed. And now look at that. Still being 138 points down when he comes down to total points count. And it's still such a massive game changer when it comes down to the actual outcome. But, you know, there's not a lot you can say about it. You're just going to have to try and get on with it from Chang Min-yu's point of view. And from Zhao Xington, how grateful must he be? As Liverpool, once again, can't bloody manage a win against Nottingham Forest. Well done. We've done really well. Going to win the league again. Let's get back to the positives then. The intermission is almost 2 frames away. 2 minutes away there. Back at training. See ya. See you later, Letitia. And the crowd, well, we're certainly getting the numbers in. That's for certain. So the crowd at Wuhan Open certainly has never been shy of showing up and showing some great support. And even in the years of dominance of Zhao Guodong, which has only been 2. But I suppose the tournament is not that old anyway. And we are going to see the match against Si Jiaowei, an old Chinese final in 24. Then a Gary Wilson against Zhao Guodong in 2025, which has seen the match to go the distance. This match is now guaranteed to be seen 16 out of potential of 19 frames, but you still feel like it'll be very unlikely that you only see 16 frames, because of course that would require Chang Min-yu to win the remaining 3, and I feel like Zhao Xington might have to say a word or two about it. As I mean, tell you what, it's been a long time coming. It's been 2 hours since we started this match, restarted I should say, so 4 frames have certainly taken a little bit of time there for the players, but in the end time, it will be all down to a chance for Zhao Xington to get himself that number 7, not just when it comes down to, you know, the ranking events that he's already managed to win, but also trying to get a number 7 when it comes down to the frames that he's managed to win in the final. Let me just have a look at how many titles he actually managed to win, because I'm pretty sure he's won 7, but I want to just check that one again. And he is the world number 12. No, that's ranking title 7. Okay, so he's got 7 ranking titles, 1 in the UK Championship, 1 in the German Masters. Then he's obviously got the World Snooker Championship, but that makes it 6. So where's 7 coming from? Okay, so he's won the non-ranking Saudi season, which we're not going to count. Okay, so now then, we've got the players to be back to the table, and now we do have a performance on our hands. Well, due from both of them, but in the end, who's going to be the one to try and respond with the performance to be better? Is it going to be Zhao Xington, or is it going to be Chang Min-yu, coming back of the disappointment from both of them in the previous 4 frames? For one of them, it was the start of the session, which was frustrating. For another, it was being so close towards pretty much being at the finish line and then having to be unlapped as a back marker at the end. It's a very interesting shot there, and I mean that in the most negative way from Chang Minyu. He got away with that one because had he not caught the red with the cue ball, he would have had a snooker lined up in behind the black there, trying to take the white towards the lower end of the table. It's always risky, but now you're going to have a chance of sending the cue ball away to the top edge of the table. But you're going to have to be careful of the red that Chang Minyu has sent there already in the past couple of minutes. So we'll see what Zhao Xingtong is going to be looking at, and also what can he try and produce when it comes down to his own safety performance. But will the game start again? He has started now. So we'll see what's going to happen when it comes down to both of them trying to put up a really good performance, but at the same time, only one, as I say, can be the winner. And for now, it does seem like it's very difficult to call who's actually going to be the winner of the title. Seemed like it was going to be obvious before the start of the match. Seemed like it was obvious at the middle point of the match, but with two different names. And now, all of a sudden, it's back on being a 50-50 there. But now, it's a chance that Chang Minyu has taken. Let's see where the cue ball is going to finish. And he's going to finish probably in the worst position that he pretty much could. It's a horrible shot on the yellow that he's now faced with. But it was a good shot on the red that he's managed to cut into the right middle. I'll tell you what, one thing that will be very, very impressive. You can make predictions all you want about Chang Minyu, but there's certainly going to be so much confidence in himself if he does try and put those struggles behind him and does have a clean frame of his own. But I don't think that's going to be the case here. He's going to lose out on the point scoring opportunity. And now, look at who's coming back to the table. Zhao Xingtong. He's going to be having his hands full of chances there when it comes down to the previous couple of frames. And now he will be back down to the Cyclone to have the opportunity. And once again, well, you felt like the life could have been a lot easier there for Chang when he comes down to the position that he had on the yellow. But at the same time, kind of have it easy all the time. Although something that you should tell Zhao Xingtong, because it does seem like the previous frame was certainly an easy chance that he had. Let's see how much of an easy opportunity this is going to be, because the position is a lot more difficult, but also he's got a lot more way to try and recover from when he comes down to, the 14th frame. Inevitably will put a little bit more pressure on himself as well. Although I still don't think we're at that stage yet. As he rolls the blue, he'll certainly have to use the entirety of the pocket there. Would not have got away with that one had it not been perfectly, lined up with the blue ball line. Because then the jewels, of course, become your best friend rather than the enemy, as long as you don't play that shot with a lot of power. And once again, gets another good red in, which in the past you would have felt, you may do well not to miss into the right corner. Now then, this is when he's going to have to try and make things happen, because he's got two more reds that he can take if he gets the reasonable positional play there on the cue ball, which he has on both of them at the same time. So he can now choose whichever one he feels is going to be easier to try and get on later on. And the one that he feels like is going to be a little bit harder, he's going to have to try and play right now. Once again, rolls the red in, still hasn't got full confidence back, but in relation to, watching those shots to be going towards the pocket, but they certainly make the target there. And now, looking to try and extend his lead to 19 points. Make sure there will be a chance of playing the blue away and into the left middle. Play the cue with plenty of backspin, just try and get it closer towards the side cushion. And, well, he clearly feels there is something else available, or rather he played a bit of a bad positional shot there. Seemed like the second option is the applicable one. Surprised why he didn't take the cue ball up closer to the side cushion. I understand that he would have had to reach over it, but, still, the angle would have been so much better for him. But I suppose it doesn't matter now. The red is taken. The position is still there on the black, but this is when he's got no more reds, which means the cue ball is about to be sent towards the back there. Didn't play those shots too many times so far today. And when he has, I don't think he got the result that he wanted. And right now, he's not going to be any different. Once again, a break of 28 points. And he will be down to 27 of the advantage. Unless he goes for this red into the corner, which I think that's going to be pushing it a little bit. Which he can go for at this stage. I still think No, probably mustn't. I don't think he should do that because he's risking then of leaving a red over the corner. He's gone for it anyway, but he's missed it by enough of a margin so that he was going to put the red save. Yeah, one thing he mustn't do right now was the mistake that Chang Minyu made in the 13th frame. He mustn't leave his opponent an easy chance. And I'm not saying leaving that red over the corner would have been an easy chance to clear the frame, but he mustn't leave him anything now to score some points, which I think Chang is going to be very much looking forward to right now, because that was the way that, to a certain extent, Zhao Xington got him into this position. 27 points ahead in the 14th frame as well. Zhao one behind. 7-6 to Chang it is. It is indeed. One behind. Wow, what a result. Big moment, push forward and take control time. I still think he's not playing quite as well to be doing that, but we are seeing an improvement, not just on the table, but also in his head. I think you could see that he realizes that he's not good enough, but he also realizes that we are now in the end game. We've gone past the Infinity War, which means, we are now going to have to try and deliver when it matters. And yeah, it's a decent shot there once again from Chang, making sure the cue ball is now taken along the right side cushion and just gets himself lined up nicely for the red, taking it towards the left part of the table, which is not an easy thing to do there for Zhao Xington, because, I think the double kiss is pretty much going to be the inevitable one, so just needs to try and keep the cue ball at the left part of the table. Has he fluked the red? I don't think he has. Has he fluked the cue ball? Well, he needs the white to stay. Well, I tell you what, has he got away with that one? He put a red over the corner, he put the cue ball over the corner as well, and he's got the perfect cover on the blue, but he hasn't got the perfect cover on the plant along the cushion, although he's not even thinking about it. So, what can Chang do here? He seemed like he's just going to try and approach this one as if it was a normal shot there. Not sure it's the right strategy. Is he going to try and play a plant instead? He got close, but in the end he just bounced off a red. So he's not getting any luck there to himself. Let's see if Zhao Xington is going to get any. Well, it doesn't seem so. For me, I think Chang Minyu has played even better of a safety. And he, of course, wasn't happy and, very much lucky with the jaws of the pocket keeping the cue ball away. So all of a sudden, I think the red has gone slightly safer. So Zhao Xington there just asking the referee to make sure that he can see the red on the right-hand side past the pink. So that he's going to try, and if he is there to be, well, that was absolutely normal. What was he doing there? I mean, he missed that red by half a ball, if not more. That certainly is not the way for you to try and win 14 frame there. But, I mean, there is some positives. He has put the black completely out of play, but he's also lost himself very valuable 7 points. If he is not to come back to the table, then I don't think Chang Minyu no longer needs all of those reds. Don't play this shot well, though. Once again, one struggle after another from both of the players, though. Once again, the intermission is there, but doesn't seem like the changes have been made to the actual way that they're being played right now. So then a shot on the pink. Once again, not an easy one. I'm not even sure which pocket is he taking this one into. Surely that was into the right middle, and he was. But still doesn't really help his case there, because now he's going to have to play the easiest red of the one that he's got. He's going to have to play this shot very thin, because not even worrying about the actual red, but having to worry about the position of the pink, which I think is impossible for him to get, trying to go through the middle. So maybe even not playing for the pink at all, but trying to just force that cue ball to be taken all the way towards the ball colours, not even the blue, which of course will make the control part of the shot a lot more difficult. So he rolls the red in, but to be fair, he was certainly able to find a really good line there to be perfectly lined up for the pink. So then, it is game on in this frame for Chang Minyu, and if anything, he's going to be by far the favourite, but, just going to have to be very careful when he approaches those type of shots, as he's now 12 points behind, 91 at the table. If 7-all, every flame later will be worth 20k or more when it gets 100k more than loser. Yeah, but then it will be more than that, because you need 3 more frames, so that will be 33k. I don't think you've done the maths very well, because you don't need 5 more frames. I guess it's going to be 5 frames remaining, but you only need to win 3 of them. And you can't really say that, well, if you lose a frame, it's going to be worth some money to you. The closer you get towards the target, the more money, technically, you have managed to win, although it's not really the way it works. And I'm not a fan of it, by the way. I think if you are 9-all, I think maybe you can start to count the points in the decider. But apart from that, I don't really believe in that stuff. Because there's a lot of things can happen, even if you've got a 9-6 points of it, a 9-6 frame of a lead, which may still be the case for Chang Minyu if he's able to take away this frame there from Zhao Xington. It's now 28 points for each of the players. And yeah, you feel like you'll probably need the penultimate red out of the bunch to try and get himself a frame on the board. But let's see how well he's going to be able to control the cue ball. For now, it's absolutely fine. But once again, it does remind you of that position that Zhao Xington had in the 13th frame, which, as I said, I think he'll do pretty well to mess that one up. I think the same has to apply to Chang Minyu. But one thing you would probably have to say in defense of the players, they've not really been getting those positions to be available to them throughout the majority of the match. And therefore, it'll be very much coming down to, right now, the further we get, the more attention there will be. And, surprisingly here, the easier the position is actually going to get. Because both of the players are trying to play in the way where they're improving the position there for themselves. But in the end, it's just one wrong shot, which we've seen from Zhao Xington. And now, all of a sudden, you're not really improving the position for yourself. You're doing that for your opponent. Now then, 34 points of a break. So 14 points of a lead. Let's just trying to see how many of those reds is he actually going to need there to be 43 or 35 points clear. I think he's probably going to have to need 4 more there out of 5, which is not an issue at all. He's got at least 5 of them actually out of 5 to be available. And yeah, it just depends in what order he wants to try and take them. Didn't really need to be slightly too low on the ping there in relation to forcing that cue ball to the top end of the table now. He was able to counter-steal the pace, but he still put himself a little bit too far away from the red. Big chance to move ahead here, indeed. The position is not going to be any more, kind to him than this. I know he wanted them all to be on the plate in the middle of the table, but, well, big chance this was, Kevin. Hey, it won't be a big chance now. Zhao Xington storming back to the table, and you might have guessed it. It is Chang Minyu with a mistake. Well, I did say he didn't need to be making his life any more difficult, but I still have to say his life wasn't anywhere near as difficult as it should have been for that miss to be justifiable. And this is when, not even pressure, but I think just being cold in those previous 2 frames, plus the intermission, it may all be starting to add up there, but wait for this one. Let's see what Zhao Xington has got to produce. Well, he produced a good shot on the red, but he's produced also a horrible shot on the cue ball. He's got 3 colours to choose from, and I've got genuinely no idea which one is the easier one. Black, pink or blue. Black being closer to the right side cushion. Well, I think with how small he is because of the size, I think the black is now out of the picture. The pink is probably going to have to be taken out of the picture as well, which leaves you with the blue. But I'll tell you what, that's not the shot that you want to be taking on to try and get yourself closer to 7-all. Well, if he's going to be taking the black on, good luck with that one. Come on, Zhao, crucial frame. Yeah, indeed. What is this going to be there? Because you can't call this anything other than crucial. But at this stage, every single frame for Zhao Xington is going to be crucial until he finds himself to be back on terms there. And even at that stage, I think we're probably past the zone where you can be comfortable. Well, it's a great shot on the black. He deserves a little bit of luck on the reds. And he... well, depends if you want to say he got it. I think he just about did, because he has compromised the other 2 reds. But if you take them in the right order, you may still be able to get both of them in. And he's on the 3rd one. Not ideally, but he's got a shot into the middle. Has he got a shot into the green pocket as well? Can't tell you which one he's taken. Well, I'm very surprised that he's taken a shot into the green pocket, but look at how well he's played that shot. I have to say, as soon as I realised he was taking that one on, I thought he's got no chance of making that shot in because of how close the cue ball was to the side cushion. I was very happy to be proven wrong there because, as I say, I'm still supporting whoever's behind, at least until the end of the 18th frame. And then whatever happens, we'll see. Now then, what's going to happen of those two reds? Well, he needs to flick them very deliberately. I think he's overrun. He has overrun, so he will be very much down to a battle on the two reds. 7 points in it. And Zhao has got the first opportunity to play the shot away with the cue ball. Whoever wins the frame wins this match, I reckon. Well, we've said that way too many times there, haven't we? And you can't have it all. You can't use it every single time there because, you know, it's like saying in the decider, well, whoever wins the 19th frame is going to be the winner of the match. Brilliant shot there in relation to the attempt from Zhao, but I thought the cue ball was going to slow down a little bit more as he was trying to be lined up behind the yellow. Didn't really work out in the end. And now it's 7 points of a lead. Still for Chang Minyu. And it is him that's going to have to try and play that shot away. Well, surely he's not trying to pot the red into the corner. Aggression at its finest. Well, stupidity at its finest as well, potentially. Got away with that one. I don't know what he was thinking. Those shots never go in when you've got so much distance in between the cue ball and the red. But also, those shots are so dangerous to play because you never know when the red is going to finish because you're always going to be close. But because you are playing the shot basically along the side rail, you can never be sure how close you're going to get. And the closer you get, the more chance you have of leaving that red over the corner. He got quite far away, so the red has gone all the way to the side cushion. There he met the cue ball, which has managed to bounce at that stage already. But Zhao seemed like, well, I see you, and I raise you. He's going to try and go for a trademark shot into the green pocket. And I knew that one because of how perfect it was on the first second of the shot. As long as you saw the line, you could see that he wasn't even going to touch the jaws. That was brilliant there from Zhao, but it's not the game changer quite yet. Once again, he's got the black and then the red to get away with. He got the black in. Ooh, he doesn't have the red. Is he going to play it? Does he have the balls to play the shot? He's now 1 point clear. You can see the disappointment in himself. He clearly backed himself to try and get that red away. Yeah, I think you need to be taking the sensible approach. But it's so difficult to do that, isn't it? After such a great shot that he played into the green pocket, well, you know, you feel like whatever happens, it's always going to go against him because if he goes for the shot like this, pretty much never going to make it there. But he wants to go for it now to make sure that he doesn't have to fight and do it all again and leave that free chance away to Chang Minyu. Well, it's his choice. I think he should play it safe, and I think he is going to play safe. And he has. So let's see how great of a safety will it be. Just about missed the jaw of the middle. And I think he got the snooker in. May be able to swerve around the ping though. So I wouldn't say it's the one which will get him all the points in the world. But it's still the one which will reduce control over the way that he catches the red there. And the longer it takes a look at it, the more I suggest that he can't see a way to try and swerve around the ping. So he's going to have to try and play. So close, final frame decider. Well, indeed. As I say, I mean, you could always say that. Whoever wins the frame in the decider wins the match. And you could be brilliant because you'll never get it wrong. This match full of twists and turns and hardly stops to either player. One frame cannot dictate the winner. It's a brilliant one. How little pace is there going to be on the red? I think it's a perfect shot there from Chang Minyu. Well, he had himself a little bit worried there. But he was always seeing that red to disappear onto the side cushion. So really good justification of the pace and a really good contact as well. Very much full in the face when he comes down to him coming away sideways. And yeah, great shot there of two cushions. Now then, once again, it's not the easy shot for you to play when he comes down to the safety. So I wouldn't be surprised if Zhao tries to go for an attacking shot. Well, he might feel like he had to do that later on. Let's see if he's left the red available. I think if he hadn't, he probably would have arisen a hand of apology there, but he still probably wouldn't back Chang Minyu to go for this red, but with everything that's happened in the previous 13 frames, and even this one as well, you never quite know what's going to happen, and therefore, there's still plenty more twists and turns to come there, you feel. Is he trying to play this one in a straight line? Is the first question. I think he is. And has he tried to pot it? Well, he got away with that one. I think he might have got the snooker as well on Zhao Xington because whatever he was trying to achieve, I certainly don't think he was playing it like that. Because the cue ball was very close to be making a double kiss with the red, but also how little power was there on the red already gone past and away from the green pocket. So Zhao can indeed see that red. Now he needs to make sure to see the cue ball get past the pink as well. Needs to keep on rolling, and then he'll be sweetly lined up for yet another snooker. Well, I'm not sure he's rolled enough there. But once again, it is like one of the players needs a snooker, but it's just difficult to figure out which one of the two. And in the end, of course, neither one does. It's all down to a battle for the red. Hidden hope? No, not quite. Well, what's he going to be? He doesn't want to have a contact on the green, but he has put the green safe. And straight away, looking at the points, making sure that Zhao will need the green. So he's got a red available. But as I say, the green now has gone onto the side cushion and clearly into the safe place as well. So we'll see what's going to happen with the red. He's clearly full of confidence, this man. Doesn't want the cue ball to disappear though into the pocket, no matter how much confidence you have. And it's a really good shot on the red. Not so much when it comes down to the position on the blue. I mean, you'll do him nicely for the yellow. But what sort of value is he going to have with taking the yellow on? I mean, if he was a genius in maths, he could say he would want to put the pink safe, because right now he won't need a pink. Chang Minyu will. And I genuinely would consider, if I was him, I would genuinely consider to try and put the pink safe here, because I know he can score 7 points off the blue and the yellow, but he's going to have to go for basically a long shot off the yellow to try and make any room improvement for the green. And unless he's going to be more than 25 points clear, it doesn't matter if it's a single point or 25, or 24 I should say. Well, he's gone for it anyway, so let's see if his approach is going to work. He's certainly going to make contact with the green, but I think, especially where the brown is, it might not prove to be enough. But he's given it a good go. So let's see, can the green disappear into the corner? And where's the cue ball going to go? The green is in. Wow, that is absolutely incredible, though. I thought the cue ball had a lot more pace on it. And Incredible has gone into a really good shot there, but he still needs the brown in. And after that, he needs the blue. Wow, that is extraordinary. He's missed the brown. How close is the brown to the pocket now? Because Chang Minyu will need a massive screw back to be on the blue. It's not quite over, but you feel like that was the shot. You know, that's what happens when you leave yourself so many frames behind. You need to be perfect. And unfortunately, as I said, I thought the cue ball had a lot more pace to be closer to the brown. It was a brilliant shot on the green, but he should have been better on the brown. Way too much power. Way too little power, I should say, on the green. And, well, what an idiot. I mean, what an idiot. And I don't even apologize for that. What have you done? Chang Minyu has missed the brown altogether when it was on its position in the pocket. I tell you what, I'm not saying anything, but I might be. Well, I am absolutely stunned with what I've seen. Chang Minyu has just blown away the frame, and he's given Zhao Xington the chance to be right back in this one. No wonder he's just taking the brown very carefully in. What on earth was that? How can you play the shot like that so you miss the brown altogether? Well, listen, if you haven't seen it, make sure to check it out, because you won't see that ever again. Never seen it in my life. We'll never see it again. In the ranking event final, I'll tell you what, I'm not saying anything. Is Chang intentionally fouling? I'm not saying anything, you know. But I think a lot of things right now. I think a lot of things. I mean, listen, I ain't saying anything, but I want to say a lot of things out there, because how do you do that? I don't think he was intentionally fouling, but if you're going to tell me what it is, apart from that, I can't really put my finger on it. Who missed Chang? Well, listen, as I say, there's a lot of talk about it. And now Zhao Xington, after a mistake from Chang Minyu, is going to be putting that blue away. Well, listen, it's all fun and games. I don't think so, because once again, it's a ranking and then final. And when I think about the way that match fixing works, I think you're supposed to not make it obvious. But I'm also going to say I've never seen it before in a qualifying match of any sort, of an amateur level. And to see it in a professional ranking final, I think there are going to be questions asked, but listen, try and move on from that and focus on the positives. It was a brilliant shot on the green. Let's try and turn it around, but I mean, yeah, I don't know how you can turn this around, because it was a horrible shot, by the way, on Zhao Xingtong's perspective, because he should have lost that frame, and he knows it, and to leave that brown over the pocket was very, very poor from him, and he needs to do a lot better. But from Chang Min-Yu's point of view, I mean, one thing that I would say, he clearly is the guy that would feel more pressure. He's the guy that's been struggling to win 2 frames. And as I said, when Zhao Xingtong has missed the brown, he was also the guy that was very much, you know, under pressure to try and make the blue in, because the whole reason why he tried to take that shot in, there's no real discussion about he should have absolutely made the contact with the brown, but the whole reason why he decided to play that shot into the cushion first was getting onto the blue was a very difficult thing there, because the blue is at the center of the table, the brown is over the yellow pocket, so I suppose you needed to be playing a shot like that, otherwise you would have had to completely trust his ability to backspin his way out. But listen, it's match fixed for sure. Probably not when you take adrenaline out of it, but as I say, I want to look at it back. I want to see what other things about it, but many better players have missed easy shots. O'Sullivan did it, Murphy did. Listen, Peter, don't try and turn this one around. Neither one of them would have missed a shot like that, because it would have been all over the internet, no matter if it happened with Stephen Hendry 30 years ago. There would have been people that would have been talking about it every single day, and I think there will be now. And that's going to stay with him for pretty much the entirety. If he doesn't win this match, that stays with him until his life is going to end, unfortunately. So, yeah. O'Sullivan did miss some easy shots. Nowhere near as bad as this. Murphy did as well. Allen did. You know, just to put it into context, the black that Allen has missed to make him into the world final would seem like a long shot to you in comparison to the brown, in relation to just potting the brown, which at that stage was the most important point. Chang Min-Yu should have analysed the game. He should have realised, if he is, by a miracle of a 1%, would miss the contact on the brown, he would have not enough points for him to come back if Zhao Xingtong pots the brown. Because if that foul is not there, and Chang Min-Yu just says, you play from here, and Zhao Xingtong pots the brown, then he still needs the blue. He didn't need the blue because the foul points were there. So, as I said, I think if you take adrenaline out of it, I think match-fixing accusations are a little bit stupid, but, you know, missing that brown was probably equally as stupid as those accusations are going to be. And there's also history, unfortunately. As much as I'm going to defend Zhao Xingtong on his part of the match-fixing scandal, I'm not going to defend anywhere near as much for Chang Min-Yu, because didn't Chang get banned for match-fixing? Yes, and that's why I'm not going to defend it. But once again, I think you can't really take it to a serious level. It was a stupid miss. I did call him an idiot. I think he was in that particular moment. Now let's try and get on and carry on and see what's going to happen in frame number 15. Because I still think both of the players are completely out of their depth. And I think this has probably been, for the hype that the match got before it started, unfortunately has been by far the worst final ever since that Scottish Open. I think Trump has done better in the Tour Championship than as a runner-up than Chang Min-Yu and Zhao Xingtong have done so far today. Too easy to miss, but like Murphy's Law, if anything can go wrong, it will. It was threatened by Lang Rainbow, who got a history of violence when he physically assaulted. Yeah, listen, let's not go into that one too much right now. And, well, by the way, this is one way of recovering from what happened in the previous frame. As I say, it's only going to be all relevant if Chang Min-Yu loses out on a match. But if he's going to be able to find long shots like that, maybe everyone will be able to forget about the brown, which is, by the way, the colour that he's about to take on right now. So then, it can all happen. It can always happen. The question is, why did it happen? And why did you allow that to happen as well? But as I say, put that behind you. We're into 15 frame. There's now a chance for Chang Min-Yu to try and get himself in the lead once again. And we've seen plenty of opportunities for someone like Zhao Xingtong to get himself right back in the action. When he was 4-7 down, he's now going to find himself 7 frames each. But one thing which is very interesting, the last 3 or 4 frames we have seen very consistently Chang Min-yu to be the first player to be getting chances, and yet he hasn't managed to win either one of those frames. So we'll see what's going to happen here. And now being top side of the blue, he's got a great chance of trying to make the red to go and into the left corner. So we'll see what's going to happen. It doesn't really want to be taking the cue ball into the reds for now. I think he's going to try and bide his time there, with especially since he's got 3 more reds at least. He might even have 4 more of those to be taken away. As he's now 11 points clear and still playing for where you're watching the match on the WST replay, because I still think it's a little bit faster than the TNT. And also with TNT, it's with how much football there is going on right now, you may just not be able to get it. If he throws this frame, yeah, listen, let's just try and move on. As I said, let's see what's going to happen. And there's always going to be mitigating circumstances, but it's just that, you know, it's going to be very difficult to imagine. So then looking at the blue to be taken in towards the yellow pocket. And now there will be a chance here for the cue ball to be taken in red in towards the left part of the table. I think there will be enough of room there for him not to have to worry about this shot too much there, but you also have to ask the question of why did he have to play the shot in the first place, and he didn't. He was able to get the cue ball away and into the right corner. I think Chang was suspended for similar circumstances. Zhao did not actively participate but knew the matters and did not report. No, it was the opposite. He did actively participate, but also as soon as the officials came to him, he did admit that he was match fixing, and that's why he got a lesser of a ban. Well, that's unfortunately, it was very close, but at the same time, it was a poor shot that he was taking. I think probably the wrong shot at that stage, as he misses the red into the right middle, leaves it over the corner pocket, and now, well, this is the time for Zhao Xington to try and shine, because, as I said, there were so many reds available for Chang Min-yu that he certainly should have been able to try and get away with some great chances there, but he wasn't able to. And now the shot on the blue, which is going to be able to take away into the left middle. Big frame here. Have you seen anyone professional still get missed that kind of a shot? No, that's exactly why I called him an idiot. But listen, I did ask you to move on. If you're not going to do that, unfortunately, I'm going to have to move on myself, which means you're not going to be in the chat. Because once again, I think if you take emotions out of the game, he has been struggling. He does find himself in the ranking final. If he was to be doing match fixing, it would have been done a lot less obvious, etc., etc. Move on, forget about it. I think he's clearly struggling, and I think Zhao Xington is about to find his form, and I think you probably should focus that as well. I have a feeling in my stomach that Zhao will be victorious in this final. Well, not only you, a lot of people I think will be. And remember, when I wanted to jump the train, there weren't any tickets available. Now I want to try and stay on this one instead of going down the M6, because it does seem like Zhao Xington is able to come back from all sorts of different scenarios, and now he's looking like the man to beat here. And once again, such a massive transition in relation to the first part of the first session. We've seen so much more mistakes from Chang Min-yu. Then in the second part of the match, in between the first and the second sessions, there were a lot more mistakes from Zhao Xington, who was clearly struggling for form. And now Chang Min-yu is starting to struggle. Well, he's not started to struggle, but he's been struggling for 3 frames now. And this one as well. And all of a sudden, it's Zhao Xington that is finding himself to be in some sort of control, and therefore looking to try and send the cue ball into the reds. And he's clearly playing with confidence there. And I don't think he's even considering the fact that he can miss those type of shots, because he's not taking any extra seconds. He's just trying to go with his body, and the body's clearly suggesting him some nice things out there. If Zhao found a gear, he'd demolish Chang. Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, it does remind you of that match against Zhang, but nothing as uncomfortable as he was in the middle part of the match. But we could still see that form of Zhao Xington, which is deemed to be so aggressive and so dangerous. But as I say, I think if he was able to make 3 really good frames there, maybe he's going to be able to salvage a little bit of quality out of the match. But I think multiple of you would agree, it's not really been the final that lived up, not necessarily to the expectations, but to the quality that it was perceived at. Because I think both Zhao and Chang had their struggles against Xiao Guodong and Ronnie O'Sullivan, but I think probably not a Ronnie match, but certainly the match against Xiao Guodong was a lot better than what we're seeing here. And what we're seeing here is yet another mistake there from Zhao Xington. trying to play the pink away into the right middle, and all of a sudden the cue ball has managed to find the green full in the face, which means the white is going to stay at the top edge of the table. Remember, Zhao is not even the lead, so if he is able to try and come back stronger, he needs to try and come back stronger on the positional play as well. And for now, well, he may have got a little bit of luck there, because the red that he missed by a mile, which on that particular occasion meant the cue ball was going to be catching the red way too thick. And at the end, I don't think he left that particular red available to Chang Min-yu, but there's only 6 reds at the table, 7 I should say, which means there's a lot of opportunities there for both of the players when they get their chances in. We've had 1 opportunity each, 37-point score for Xington, 17 for Min-yu. And yeah, to the question of that, I still don't think Zhao Xington has managed to find his gear. But he's certainly playing better than what we've seen during parts of this match. And Chang Min-yu, unfortunately, is starting to struggle. And he's not really being left anything easy now. You feel like the easy meat is gone. And he's going to have to try and do it the long way. He needs one of those shots that Zhao Xington had in the 12th frame on the green. And unless he's going to be able to find those sort of shots, I think it's going to be really difficult for him to try and get himself back to the table. It's either that or have a very easy position for contrast where there's simply not something that you need to be worried about. It's just trying to keep control reasonably well of the cue ball, playing for the reds and back for the colour, but we'll see if he's going to be able to try and do that. For now, still playing for a chance of getting the red away and into the right corner. Still looking at an opportunity there for Zhao Xington, because the way that he's trying to cue this one, for me, suggests that he's going to go for something attacking. Well, he did. He didn't get the cue ball into a nice place. And what did I say last second? I mean, I literally said, just make sure you don't leave him anything easy. He's gone and played 7 reds perfectly away from each other. And talk about easy, he could not have left him anything easier than this. And this time around, Zhao Xington is now going to be very frustrated with what he has. Rubbish safety there from Zhao after hitting the green. But they won't pull out British Open. Well, yeah, I think I would be surprised if either of them play in the British Open at this stage. Because I think that might be even down to why they're playing so badly. It may be just down to fatigue. But yeah, I mean, that's unacceptable, I'm afraid. Yet another horrible shot. Not just from Zhao Xington, but yeah, it just seemed like one goes away from the table with a horrible shot, another one follows with a horrible shot of his own. How do you run yourself out of position on the brown is beyond me. Can he try and recover? It's a good shot, and he's in. Chang Min-yu was begging that brown to go in, but has he got any sort of reds? That would be unlucky if he's not on the red. Let's look at his body language. It's fine, so he's clearly thinking that he's still on the red there, but hanging on. As soon as it seemed like you got 7 reds all to be on the plate for you, somehow he managed to mess up the position at the first time as well. I looked on the cue tracker. I think these two only played each other once before. Yes, in the Championship League in 22, where Zhao has managed to win by 3 frames to 0. It's going to be certainly not the scoreline that is going to be repeated itself here. And still, in the first mini session, we've seen breaks of 76 to be the highest from the 2 players, and ever since that stage, we've only seen a break, you know, of past 70s of 78 from Zhao Xington on one occasion. Tell you what, it's a very delicate shot on the black there. Fair play to him, because that required a little bit of straight cueing into the pocket. The reds was getting slightly in the way of the black, and if he was going to be anywhere near front part of the jaw, if the jaw wasn't going to stop it, then the red was going to anyway. But yeah, just trying to play through those type of shots there for Chang Min-yu. Get himself that 15 frame on the board, even though it's not really the circumstances which you feel are going to inject a lot of confidence in him. But at this stage, as you say, it's down to every single frame that you win gets you closer towards the final goal. Of course, being 100,000 worth of prize money more. A bit of ranking points as well, but at the same time, I think for Chang Min-yu, it's going to be all down to the title, and probably for Zhao Xington too. He's only managed to win 6 ranking titles before. Let's see if he's going to be able to make it number 7 for him. For now, it is certainly the lucky number for both of them, as they are getting 7 frames on the board for both of them. But Chang Min-yu clearly wasn't happy with the way that he struck that black. It did go into the middle of the pocket, but it didn't look like the cue ball got all the cue action that he needed to. Isn't Sean Murphy the current and defending British Open champion? Correct. But the way that you're asking this one is a little bit interesting too. Mental and muscles fatigue after starting at 2 p.m. and it's now 10 p.m. China time. Yes. They will have a rest day tomorrow, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near enough for them to be back in action on Monday, which is a shame because with O'Sullivan out of the picture, I always look forward to be seeing Zhao to be playing, especially in the first couple of early rounds, because he does make them look to be very, not easy, but very enjoyable, which probably is the only thing about those first to 4 round matches, was see one player to be playing really well and showing some great snooker there, because there's not really going to be a lot of drama or a lot of competition there. Tell you what, there's going to be a little bit of a competition here though to try and get on the red, but that's going to be Chang Minyu against himself. The brown is not going to be good enough, so he needs to go for the yellow. He should be open the cube out wide there, but just needs to make sure he doesn't have any contact with the red, which he has done pretty well. And now the break of 40 points. Once again, I mean, you have to go back to that horrible safety shot there Zhao has played. 6 reds he had safe out of 7. At the end of that shot, he had neither of those safe, and he's left one of them to be absolutely on the plate for Chang Minyu. And now 41 points later, it is going to be the total clearance still to be available of 73 points. So just mentioning about it, you will know it down. Yeah, Kevin, next time just delete. Sorry, I will delete. Actually, I will do that now. Delete the user. If you don't understand that, unfortunately, it's only English in the chat, then, you know, that's the way that it goes. But yeah, it's a really good frame there for Chang Minyu because, you know, he may have not played his best snooker out there, but at the same time, he's also managed to put himself in that window where he's only going to need 2 more frames. And you still have to say, if he would have won that previous frame number 14, then he still could have been in this position anyway, as it's now going to be Chang Minyu 8, Zhao 7, and it's still very much Chang Minyu that has got the lead, as he's been having throughout the entirety of the session. So the 55 points is the lead, so still looking for 73, which is going to be 1 point higher than the total points that he scored in this frame right now. But once again, always getting closer towards that lucky number 1000, which I always say, when you score 1000 points, you'd be surprised if you haven't won a first to 10 match by that stage. You might have to wait a little bit longer there because he's going to have frames of around, 70 points on 2 of those occasions, which will get him to around 1100 worth of points. But for now, 73 was enough there for a total clearance. And now he's got an advantage of 54 balls spotted more than Zhao. And once again, Zhao is getting a little bit dominated there when it comes down to majority of the stats, apart from maybe foul points and the highest break value as well, as it's still plenty of 70s, but very few century breaks. We haven't seen any of those. If anything, we haven't seen a break reaching 80 points out there, but you have to give credit to Chang Minyu, even though there were some questionable misses there that he had in the previous frame, but also he had some brilliant shots with a long red, and at the same time, he's also been able to punish Zhao for his own mistake after not being able to, go for, I can't really remember which shot that he made. Oh yes, the transition on the pink, which was a straightforward shot that he had, but just unable to miss the green. Cost him dearly, wasn't able to sustain the safety battle, and now it will come down to Chang Minyu still trying to hold on to that lead, as he has been doing throughout the majority of this second session, just trying to hold on to that lead, make sure he's going to be getting closer towards the finish line, and so far, he's done that pretty well. China to UK, 15 hours flight, no chance. I think he can clearly cross them out, and whoever gets themselves to the British Open, he's going to deserve a medal for just turning up there, because don't give me that bullcrap that we're going to have Ronnie O'Sullivan to be withdrawing for medical reasons. I know they're 29 and 24, which is basically the combined age of O'Sullivan, but don't tell me that if you're going to be making this flight from China to England, 15 hours, where you've got around 40 hours in between finishing this match, probably even less than that after you've done all the media, maybe have a party around for the winner, and a bit of a runner-up party for the second place man, and then 15-hour flight to England, and from that stage you have to be very much dressing up in new uniform, new sponsorship, having to put a smile on your face and just pretending that you just won one of the biggest tournaments in your life, certainly the biggest if you're Chang Minyu, and then, you know, pretend like it's all going to be all over. You have to enjoy those moments, and even if it's Zhao Xington that is going to be able to win this one, then I still would be very surprised if we are going to witness him to be coming back with any sort of intention of actually playing at the British Open. And I think that's going to be completely reasonable at this stage. It's going to be disappointing for sure, but as I say, still completely reasonable when you've got so little time to get yourself back into shape in the opposite side of the world. I'm not even going to talk about the climate change in relation to the, you know, how much of a time difference it is, 7 hours. Yeah, good luck trying to sleep in the middle of the day of what it would have been for you in the China. But yeah, anyway, China 2, yes, support, please subscribe and hit like button, folks. Yes, thank you very much there, Kevin, for the work of the moderator and also for the support in the chat, everyone. Feel free to subscribe and hit the like on the stream. Hit the bell as well to get notifications when the next stream is going to appear. For now, it is, as I say, it is down to if we are going to mythically see one of those two players on Monday. But I do plan of seeing Weezer against, I think it is Li Hongyu in the first round. Once again, you have to value those sort of matches because you never know how many matches top seeds are actually going to play there. So we'll see what's going to happen. One of the good things about snooker players is they get to travel a lot. I mean, you say it's a good thing. I think if you travel 9 months out of 12, I think they would argue it's not such a great thing, but I suppose it depends on whoever you are and what your preferences are as well. And it's now a great shot there from Chang Minyu. Getting that cue ball to be lined up in behind the green here. And still looking at the chance of playing the shot sideways into the right side cushion and then just making sure that he just leaves that cue ball to be at the top edge of the reds, taken towards the diagonal way of them. Let's see, the line looks to be pretty good. It just seems to be the pace is going to be lacking a little bit. Well, the line wasn't actually perfect, so I think Chang Minyu is going to consider taking the red away from here, because I don't think he's going to get a better opportunity than this. He's got 2 reds to choose from. Neither one is ideal. I think the one into the middle is probably going to have to be out of the question. As I say that, he's about to play it. Surprised. Because of the black and the pink, I was about to say. To be out of position. But that means he's going to have to play the shot with so much power. More power means little control. Well, even with little power, he had no control. I mean, I'm very surprised. That is poor thinking there from Chang Minyu. Because he was trying the shot, as I say, he had the black and the pink to be out of position. As you might have guessed, he played that shot with very little power, which means he was trying to cannon the black into the open play. He didn't get anywhere near that, and he's now left the red for Zhao Xington. It may not be the easiest red, but it's now taken away. Let's see where the cue ball's going to finish. Is he going to have enough pace to be joining the brown and yellow for company? Yes, he will. So then, it's not the perfect chance, but it certainly is an opportunity to get 4 reds for free, and then just make sure that you are going to have a decent angle on the blue to try and separate the other 11 away from each other quite nicely. So, once again, it does seem like reluctantly, as I was saying before the start of the match, one thing I don't see is this match to be going all the way. Well, it seems like I'm about to be proven very wrong on this one, because it's already gone closer than I thought, and it's going to go a lot closer if I predicted the right person to win. I'm not sure, as I said, I think it's 7-0. I did say I don't know what to expect anymore. And I genuinely don't know if I am going to say Zhao Xington is the favourite, because I still haven't seen anything of him that would make me feel like, well, he's played impressive snooker. But I think all in all, if I was to put one of the players that was better, I genuinely would struggle to say one right now. Probably Chang, for him to have a better all-round game in relation to those 15.5 frames. I think all in all, he's had more frames where he played consistently decent. I think Zhao Xington had a horrible period of around 4 or 5 frames where he was playing absolutely dreadful stuff. I think Chang Minyu had some dreadful stuff with himself, but I think it was probably more spread out across the entire match there. Yeah, I agree. Zhao, good-looking guy. He has kind of a baby face. Yeah, he does not really look at 29 years of age, does he? Especially when he's up against someone like Xiao Guodong. You know, he's 37. And if you told me, you know, that they are very much, without knowing the numbers, that they are 8 years away from each other when it comes to the age. I would have absolutely not believed you. But yeah, Zhao needed to be seeing more angle on the black. So he's going to have to try and play this shot from the cushion. He will. Let's see the results. The result is as expected. As soon as he got himself to be out of position on the black there, he was never going to be in a nice position. And he's now once again 28 in the previous frame that he scored, 27 in this frame. And yet again, it's the positional play that costs him. In the second session, he's managed to sort out 90% of his errors on the pot success, apart from his struggle points in the first 2 frames. But even then, I think it was down to, the long shots, which was missing predominantly. And I think his positional play has just been all over the place. And especially if you think about the way that he plays the game, positional play being one of his, if not the most important factor of his game, then you're certainly not going to be surprised that, he has struggled to score and string some good breaks together. Horrible shot there from Chang nearly dropping the cue ball. In the end, probably doesn't matter if he dropped the cue ball or not. I think Zhao could have done with 4 foul points, but I don't think he would have got any more than that. He's got 11 reds, all to be right next to each other. And that shot was never about the reds. It was always about the cue ball. And I think Zhao is going to have a nice little line of playing the shot away from the reds and onto the ball cushion. The match is going to be square and there will be a decider. We'll see. Even when he misses the ball, he always shows a smile. Yeah, he does, doesn't he? Always seems like he's in that mode positive, which sometimes I think as a Zhao fan would irritate me, because I hate to see that, the reaction of Ronnie O'Sullivan there, because I'm just like, well, just get on with the game. But at the same time, I feel like it's probably half as frustrating when you see someone to butcher a shot horribly wrong, especially when you do that consistently and then still be smiling around in your seat, which is obviously a defense reaction, but I don't think you're going to be able to realize that as Zhao fan at that stage. Now then, there may be reasons to try and put a smile on his face here. It's a long shot, which was taken perfectly well. How good is the cue ball? As good as you might ask, or is it? It is on the blue, and he's just about top side of a blue. So, the fact that he's not taking any time to have a look around the reds clearly suggests that he thinks he can go for that red into the right corner. He couldn't. He could go for the red into the left corner there, so he had just about enough angle on the blue to force that cue ball to go closer to the red. And now it's 29 points of a lead. I really want Zhao to win. Well, we've got every chance of this particular frame, but we'll see what's going to happen. As I say, it won't be the first time where he had the lead, but just wasn't able to do anything with that lead. But another key shot coming up. These were probably his second biggest enemies after positional play. Well, he feels there is still another red available for him here. So, yeah, the one that I suggested to play into the right corner. I'm a little bit surprised that he didn't play that one at the start. But maybe there is a reason for it. And maybe he feels he's going to get an easier positional shot on the black. So let's see how far he's going to get the cue ball. Pretty far, which means he's going to try and send the cue ball into the reds. But before he plays the shot, I'm just going to say I'm not really too positive about this one, because it's one of those packs there which I feel like no matter from which angle you sort of take it, unless you get so much traction with the cue ball, you're never going to be able to get the reds away from each other as well as you want. And he did his best. I am sort of right on that one, because he played that shot about as well as he could have. And he might have 2 options, one better than the other. Well, he's got the third one, which I didn't really consider, a long shot into the yellow pocket. Probably the safest of all 3 in relation to, I can't really see him. Well, don't play shot with so much power there. I mean, come on, you need to be doing better than that. I was about to say, I can't really see him missing that shot. But he absolutely thundered that one into the corner pocket. And now, well, the red has stayed out, as you might have guessed. And he was supposedly trying to bring the cue ball into a safe place. But when you get so close to be, sort of potting that red away, it's always going to stay over the corner pocket. Now, let's see if Chang is actually going to try and attempt it. Because to me, it seems like he's aiming for another red, which is surprising. Well, that is shocking to me. I mean, he must have not seen that red, which means that Zhao was very lucky not to leave that red away. But, well, I can't really believe that he wouldn't see that red. Because, well, I mean, I say you can't believe that. Zhao seems to have exactly the same issue, where he's had all those reds available to him, and yet neither one will go past the other bunch. which is very interesting because it's a horrible position to find safety shots from. But it seems like the Lightning's not really striking for either one of those two. Because it's now 45 points of a lead for Zhao Xington. But, I mean, if he's thinking what I think he's thinking, it's a bad idea. If he's thinking even worse of an idea. I thought he was thinking of a plant. I mean, that was silly. I don't know what he could have done, but he should have found something better than that, because he was trying to squeeze the red past half of the pocket available to it with so much power that he caught the red that he was trying to avoid, pretty much full ball. Reds all over the table, but ultimately, very few of them has gone into a bad position. The cue ball has sort of done that. But yeah, let's see if Chang Minyu is going to be able to go for the red. They do seem to be smiling a lot there for how badly they've played, which is a little bit irritating, I have to say, to be watching as a neutral perspective, because they do seem like they're laughing and smiling about it, and yet this is supposed to be their moment of glory. And yeah, I think the fans are more worried about the standard of play than they are. I suppose you are probably getting to the stage where you must win, no matter how you play, but surely that's, you know, the best way for you to win is trying to play well, especially since neither one of them have played well in the previous 15 frames. It's a good shot that from Chang Minyu under pressure from the side cushion, and he's still finding himself 8-7 ahead there. So this is now the chance of trying to overthrow the Titan and leave Xington with the need to win 3 frames in a row. But it's hard to say if you're going to count 45 points as a lead which is going to be big enough before the start of this break, because usually it would be saying this is going to be an easy clearance, but not if you look at everything that's happened in the previous 15 frames or so. Only 2 things can happen in this match. Either there will be a deciding frame for the title trophy, or one will pull away to victory. In other news, you know, the roses are red, violets blue. And yeah, obviously, but I think it's not really going to be the stage where one is going to pull away, because the gap can be at the sort of outcome of the match is going to be 10-7, which is far from an ideal scoreline, but it's certainly the one that Zhao Xington won't enjoy. And Chang Minyu is going to be absolutely delighted if he gets the scoreline or anywhere near that scoreline. I think as soon as he gets himself a number 10, I don't think he's going to care about anything else. And he's got a great chance of getting to the number 9 under the usual circumstances, but when it comes down to the pressure and how significant it's been so far, you never quite know what's going to happen. And he's got 6 reds. I mean, 5 of them to be about as simple as they can be. They are spread out across the table, and the 6th one is in the middle of sort of being available to be taken to the yellow pocket, or you have to play in behind of it and try and take it towards the right middle, or alternatively, the right part of the table as well. It's a bit of a poor shot that from Chang, because that wasn't control. That was down to a lucky kiss that he got on the cue ball, on the red. So once again, seems to be struggling to control the pace. But once again, the further he gets into this break, the fewer reds which are going to be too easy for him he's going to get. He's now taken an easy colour away with the blue. So now, this is when he's going to have to try and stay on top of his game there when he comes down to the positional play, which he didn't really get anywhere near of for now. So 27 points is the lead for Zhao Xington. Ooh, that was close. And I think he knew that one. And close means there's not going to be great control over the positional play, but he's going to have one more colour. He's certainly finding himself in the right place at the right time there, because first the blue, now the pink. The only 2 colours to be out of position, and the only 2 colours to be a lot closer to the pockets than they're usually going to be. But this time, you're not going to get any freebies there, because there's now 20 points of a lead and 4 reds ahead of himself. If he gets past the 4th one, he should be able to have a straightforward clearance, which he has made in the previous frame, after having a bit of a disadvantage there in terms of the points. Now just having a look towards probably clearing the lower part of the table first, which to me is a mistake, because I think the top 2 raids are a lot more difficult than the lower 2. I think it's understandable from the perspective of, you know, you always want to try and leave the last raid to be closer to the yellow so that you save yourself an extra shot there, which you don't have to worry about, because, you know, transition from the bold color to the yellow as a 6 color clearance is a lot easier than doing that off the black or whatever, especially since you're not playing well. But I still think he is finding himself to be in a little bit of trouble there. And he didn't play that shot very confidently. I think he is starting to struggle here. And he needs to try and recover here. Because he was a decent shot over the rest. He rolled that red after a little bit of a wobble. But more importantly, the cue ball is a little bit too close to the side cushion. A little bit too far away from the black. And it needs to be positioned perfectly for the remaining two reds. The black is straight into the pocket. And now let's see, he needs to miss the red. He didn't miss the red. And this is what I was talking about. I don't think he'll go past the brown. Or is it? So what, he's going to be very lucky if he gets past the brown here. But I think he is looking at the scoreboard. So he is going to have to try and play this one safe. Well, very poor decision management. And I did call that one. I did say, I don't know why you would decide to... Don't tell me he's messed that one up. Listen, it is a shame what we're seeing right now because it is genuinely crap against worst crap. And I am being harsh here, but that probably is one of the worst finals I've seen. And for the names that they were, for how much excitement there was before the start of the match. You know, the fact that Chang Min-yu, not only has he messed up the position, but also in his attempt to play snooker, he left the red to be very much available in open play there. It is disappointing, but Chang has chance to put distance in the match. He had the chance. Now it's back to Zhao Xington to have the opportunity, which once again has been shifting backwards and forwards there. And, well, we'll see how close he can get to this red. And once again, the story of the match, anywhere but on the side cushion. Guess where he found himself? Perfectly on the side cushion. So, yeah, the question is who's going to win this match. It's probably the most exciting point about it, but... You know, whoever does it, I don't think they can be proud too much of their performance. So then Zhao, once again, due to the height, he can't really reach over the cushion. Shame for China supporters. Yeah, listen, I don't know. It's hard for me to say. Maybe I'm being over dramatic, but I don't really think I am. Well, he decided not to play. I think it's a reasonable choice there from Xington. I think he knew that he's not really in a position where he's going to be taking those shots on. And I think he's been the more reasonable guy. I also think he's the one that made more mistakes, which doesn't really make sense. But I think he's had more chances, therefore he's made more mistakes. And after he's made those mistakes, he sort of said to himself, well, I'm not really just going to keep on banging on the door there like a sheep. I'm going to have to try and get away and come away with a different outcome. The problem is he didn't really manage to do that. His safety has improved on some of the shots, and on the other shots it's still been atrocious. His spot success has improved massively in session 2, and yet he massively struggled with it in the first 2 frames. But one thing that has been very consistent for Zhao Xington, and he can be certainly very proud of that achievement, is his positional play has been absolutely on the same level since the first frame. It's been absolutely atrocious. So that's certainly been very consistent with him. Chang Min-yu, here and there, I would say consistently inconsistent, but now he's got a long shot, which he decided not to be taken. I thought he was absolutely cueing that one wrong, but he clearly was doing that with a safety play, and for once, it is Zhao Xington that will have to find himself to be snookered, and it's a really good shot there from Chang, and they seem to have figured out they can't really decide who's better by playing long shots and aggressive shots there. So they decided to do something they've been quite decent at, both of them, so far today. It's been the safety play. But, I mean, I suppose for China supporters, again, it will be down to what you want to see. It's a little bit of a shame for me because I don't really have a horse in the race. So I'm here for great snooker. Close match, absolutely, but not really at this cost. I will probably rather have seen one of the players play really well. Has he dropped the reds? Well, he's left it all over the pocket. Unfortunately, it should be the end for Zhao Xington. Won't be the first time I said that in this particular frame, but it was a really good safety there from Chang, which probably deservedly so, has won in the frame, it would seem. But you never know, he's still 13 points behind, so plenty of work to do when it comes down to trying to pop shots, no matter how easy they are, or how easy they look, I should say. There's always time to make a mistake, as we found out earlier. So how good is his first shot? Not bad, but he couldn't really get that one right because he had so many colours to play for. But Babyface always saw him as a mini... not sure what you mean by that one. Can't play perfect all the time again. Yeah, and it's a fair point. I just felt like it wasn't really the point that you would choose to use for the Wuhan Open, because they did have 1 week of a break, and neither one of them have done well at the China Open. Chang Minyu got out in the second round, and Zhao Xintong got out in the first one. So they basically had 2 weeks worth of rest. And at the same time, it's now going to be down to a chance that neither of them has taken, actually. So, you know, there will be now plenty of room for them to try and recover. It's Chang there. He seemed like his body language is panicking on every single shot that he's taken there, because there's always a little bit of moving around on the cue. There's always a little bit of, oh my God, panicking there in between those shots. But at the same time, he always seems to, no, not always, but majority of them, it does seem like he's, you know, overstressing a little bit. Now then, the brown to the blue. We've seen this one go wrong before. So he'll still need to be top side of a blue to try and get himself for the pink, which I think is going to be the frame ball, and he will be. So then for now the blue, for now the brown I should say. How nicely he was on the blue. Yeah, about as nice as he can be. So the 9-7, he's waiting for him. Can he try and execute the performance here that he needs of getting himself past the pink, and just very carefully top side of it. He needs the white to keep on running, and he will. So now, just one shot away from being one frame away. It's all been the battle of the numbers. It's not been the cleanest frame from him once again, but it's a massive win for Chang Minyu, and in the end, he will be able to come away with a win, and he will be a break of 23 or 30. He's going to go for the black, so 30 points in the end for Chang Minyu, as he now surely gets himself towards 1,000 points there in total, but didn't do it in the cleanest way. But in the end, does it matter? Not at all. Roses are red, violets blue. The winner will be Chang Minyu. Pretty good one, stories of life. Now then, GG's match, I think. Well, probably usually would say so, but not with the way the news have gone here. I still think there is a chance for Zhao Xintong to come back. Whether it's a realistic one or not, probably not. But you can never discount, you know, someone like Chang Minyu to be dropping off the pace there. But one thing that doesn't really help the case is that in the previous 2 frames, which both of them Zhao Xintong lost, he was the first player to score 27 plus points. It's just the problem is he scored 27 and 28 points, but so many mistakes, so many disappointing shots that he played. You know, that red into the yellow pocket, there was no reason to be messing around with it. And yes, of course, Chang Minyu got away with it on his own attempt of a long shot, but you know, that's the way that the game went. And of course, that shot, trying to escape from a snooker on the red, has cost him very dearly. And you can see the fans behind him getting very, very animated, clearly being on the side of Zhao Xintong. But oh, it is exactly 1,000 points. That's certainly a great sign there for Chang Minyu. He was always going to be worth to try and take that black away. Ooh, that's a brilliant number, I tell you that. 1,000 points exactly in comparison to 814, I think it was, for Zhao Xintong. But yeah, for him to have the average break of 37.4 is not something that he would be proud of. But, you know, I suppose both spotted 62 less, which is a lot of a margin there, which is actually equivalent to around 2 or 3 frames, which is exactly the gap that he has. 60 foul points for Chang Minyu, but 23 there for Zhao Xintong. Will certainly a point to improve on. But in the end, is he going to be the final frame? It's not going to be the deciding frame for Zhao Xintong if he wants to try and win this match. But he's certainly the one that he needs to try and win if he is to have any sort of realistic chances of keeping himself out there. Likely Chang will be the winner. 15 minutes ago, Chang was crucified for missing a brown, even said match fixing. Now, well, I didn't say it, but I would say that it doesn't really make that brown any more worse of a shot that he played. But as I say, I think you should move on from there. I think I did always say if you take the emotion out of it, it was not a shot which probably wouldn't be involved in match fixing. I said it was a stupid shot, and I called him an idiot for playing a shot like that, because at that time, don't tell me that you knew that he was going to win frames number 15 and 16. So I still think he was an idiot for that particular shot, but now he's managed to recover. And it's down to him. It's also down to Zhao Xintong not playing as well as he should have or could have. But let's not pretend that he's won this match just yet. If he has, as I said at that time, everybody will forget about the brown if he would have won this match. I don't think anybody's going to forget about it if he is going to lose it. But for now, the only player that seems to be losing it is Zhao Xintong. And finally, we are seeing boundary on reckless shooting there. because that red was taken with a little bit of brute force there. The cue ball has gone to the top edge of the table, but in the end, and roses are red, violets are blue, no match fixing for you, match in the bag. Well, it seems like there is going to be a chance here for Chang Minyu to be getting a very careful safety on the red. And in the end, it will all be down to a certain opportunity here for Zhao, which I think he's not going to refuse any opportunities here. As long as he's got a long shot available, I think he'll go for it. It's just a question of how long for him to wait until he gets that opportunity. And, well, it's never too late for you to try and recover. But in the end, is he going to be a little bit too late to try and produce that 3 frame of a clearance? Because we've seen that before. You know, 9-7 you are able to come back from, but it doesn't happen very often. I think he's probably the favourite to win this frame, although he's not playing necessarily too well, but purely down to the pressure. I think there will be a couple of shots which, you know, we'll see wobbly legs there from Chang Minyu. And for the 3rd time in a row, Zhao Xingtong is going to get the first chance of scoring points in the frame. But for this occasion, I'm not sure he's going to be able to go beyond. Sorry, it's Zhao Xingtong that gets the first point. He's not sure I'm going to be able to go beyond to the brown here. Can he try and get this one in? I think too far. He's in too far. No, it's perfectly into the pocket. I thought he tries to use too much of the back-end jaw there. Position is still pretty horrible there. When you think about the level that Zhao Xingtong is going to be looking for, you know, the black is only available into the right corner, and he will be for a while. But you feel like his technique is just not striking the ball as well as he can. He's not getting the power. It's probably all the signs of a fatigue there that you can think about, which is a shame, because I think that's probably going to mean that we're going to lose both of them out of the, you know, British Open, which, you know, to lose 2 great players is a shame, but, you know, you cannot completely understand why that had to be the case, but it's just one of them will lose, and yet they would have put so much into this frame, into this match, which is always going to be a great shame. Zhao is screwing up his fans by making too many clumsy mistakes. Well, remember, it is now the first time that Zhao Xingtong finds himself to be on the verge of losing a ranking event final. And I did say it's always just a matter of time until that streak is going to end. Whether it's going to end here or not, we'll see. I still don't think it might not, you know. I think if he gets 1 frame on the board, he might get all 3. Obviously, the math is not mathing there, but I still believe in him. Not now, since he missed the red. But I do. But I knew he was going to miss that red, to be fair. But I was just hoping that he wasn't going to leave anything. But to be fair, he hasn't. And yeah, of course, for me to be right, we are going to see a step up for him. But also we need to see a drop off from Chang Minyu. Which one thing I think he deserves of saying that he's been very consistent when it comes down to trying to get himself in those key moments to be winning those frames. I think there was a frame 5 where he lost, but straight away in frame 6 he managed to recover, and everybody forgot about frame 5 because of how apparently crucial it was going to be. No, it didn't work. Then we had obviously that frame number 12, which changed the dynamic of the match again. So you feel like you probably should put a little bit of respect on Zhao Xingtong's name as well, because he was 4-7 down, and the fact that he managed to come back to 7-0 would have taken a lot out of him, first of all, but also mentally, I think his concentration would have had to be on such an extreme level that I think his head is no longer in the right place. I think he's just taking a little bit too much away from himself, but Chang Minyu still seems like he's full of fire. Whether he's going to be full of long shots, we'll see now. He's got one available. He's obviously going to go for it. He can afford to be going for pretty much anything right now at this stage. It probably should be, within reason. Let's see how well can he cue this red away and into the left corner. Pretty badly, to be fair. Let's see where this red is going to finish now. And, well, has he managed to get away with that one? I'm looking for a hand of apology. Now I'm looking at the Zhao Xingtong's face. Still seems like he's about to try and do something here with one of those reds. Come on, then. At least make it 18 frames. 18 frames I'll be happy with. Nope, that's the red gone missing. And the cue ball is not going to be far enough up the table. Yeah, it does seem like he's had enough there, I think. Probably not even mentally, but physically, I think his body is asking for a rest. Which is a shame. But he's been asking for a rest pretty much for the whole tournament, which is a little bit weird. But maybe it's 2 unrelated issues here. But I just don't think like he is match fit for his own level. I think he had way too many glimpses of his great form, but at the same time, I think he's had too many mistakes. But look at that. Chang Min-yu, what's happened there? How do you miss a red like that? And, well, once again, back to Zhao. And this is what I mean. This is why I'm saying this is not really the final that we anticipated, because now we've seen 4 mistakes on the pot success, and it's only been 11 points that we scored, so I would expect to see a lot more than that. But it is Zhao Xingtong that once again gets another chance, trying to brush the cue ball with his hand in the air. Not literally, that would be a foul. But that's the only thing that seems to be working for him. And even that is not working too well, as he's still straight on the blue. On this time, he's fine, but on next time he does that, he won't really be able to find himself a red. Especially since this is going to be a new champion for Chang. Well, we'll see, but I still think he's got a little bit of way to go there. He hasn't scored a point since the previous frame, and he's had plenty of chances to score some. Which I think if you've got a very sort of quiet frame where you don't have any opportunities, that's always fine. Because I think the players are always very likely to come away with a great performance in the next frame. But when you've got a chance like this, or chances like this, like he's had in this frame, I think it's always a different level of expertise for you to try and experience. An extension on top of the extension there for Zhao Xingtong. Once again, the size of him just being brought into the play. He's going to reach very awkwardly for this red, and he also needs to do a lot of work on the spin. And I'll tell you what, he played that shot really well for how difficult it looks and seemed. He is now going to be on the pink, which is the shot which probably would go back onto its own spot. I was thinking maybe it would go on the black spot, but I think especially since he's now going to have to play this shot in a way which would spread the reds away from each other. Now then, well, easy on the reds towards the right middle. I think if the referee is going to be putting the pink back into its own spot, that will be the end of Zhao Xingtong. He had the red perfectly available to him, but in the end, unfortunately, the pink will be getting in the way. And just like it was in the previous frames, 28, 27 points, and now 24. Doesn't seem like it's getting any better for him. It's 10:45 p.m. here in China. Both want to end, hence the mistakes. Yeah, he has to say, but, you know, I think you don't really see those many mistakes so late in the final. And let's not pretend that that's not been the case from the starting point of the match. You know, it wasn't 10 o'clock in China in the evening when they started out the performance. And yet, yes, that's what it seemed like. And Zhao clearly wants to be out of here. He's gone for a very reckless shot into the corner. Didn't get anywhere near it, and yet still left the red to be over the pocket. So then the one that Chang apparently can't miss, it would seem, after wasting a couple of opportunities beforehand. One with a long shot, one with a mid-range shot. Well, I'll tell you what, you only just about roll that one in, and you know what that usually means. Out of position for the collar, which he is, but I think he's just about fine to be taking the blue into the yellow pocket there. So 23 points of a difference. Zhao Xingtong will win. It doesn't seem so right now, but you never know. As I say, too late to jump the ship there to get any sort of credibility for it. But yeah, it's not an easy shot on the blue, but he just about caught the right part of that front jaw just to be dropping that blue in. So then, a couple of key shots there for Chang Min-yu, which is always a great way to start the frame, as long as you keep yourself to be very much away from those shots for the remainder of it. Now then a chance of playing the red away in towards the right corner and just making sure that he's got himself a window of playing for the pink and into the right corner. But once again, I mean, so many reds that you've got available to yourself. It's just what can you actually make out of them? And it's also the need to be taking them in a very specific order, which means a lot of cue ball control needed, which also means a lot of precise pot success needed as well. So then 11 points is the lead, 99 on the table. I just watched the 12th and 13th frames on YouTube. In the 12th, Zhao potted an off the scale dog blue. Yeah, exactly, and that was the reason why he was able to win 2 frames off the back of that. You know, let's not pretend, you know, that he was all down to nothing. That shot on the green into the left corner was brilliant. The fact that he missed the brown after that, I think, or was it the other frame? No, sorry, it was the other frame. The fact that he was able to make the clearance of 18 points in that frame was very important for him. But, you know, it's still, you can't just say because he managed to put that green away, that should be very much an excuse for all of the mistakes that he's made in the final, which there have been plenty of. And listen, I think both of the players probably not necessarily the winner, because he's the winner. We'll accept they haven't played well. And I think for Chang Minyu, this is going to mean a lot more because, as I say, I think for his mental state, the fact that that brown in the 14 frame is not going to mean anything is going to be a lot more of a win for himself rather than for Zhao Xington. So we'll see what's going to happen. And now it's 3 points of a difference. There is still, he's been looking for the next shot on the red very long there, but seems like he's set off for a plan to be taken, which is great news for him in relation to that will get both of the reds to be available if he gets that one in. But of course, it's a little bit risky of a shot to be taken on, and he's straight on the blue, which is not great news at all. So then, yeah, I tell you what, it's not great news at all. He might be able to go for the pink, and that will be the saviour of him, because if he can't, then he's going to have to go for the brown, it would seem, because the blue will give him nothing. Unless he tries to take the cue ball all the way towards the right part of the table. Well, he's having a good look at the pink. But the fact that he's having a good look at the pink means he's very close. So whatever it was, he has messed up the position a little bit. Nah, I think it's fine. I think he's just probably over-checking everything. So if he plays the shot well, the pink will be in. He played that one away from the backhand jaw, which was wrong. And in the end, it didn't cost him on the pink, but he cost him on the positional play. So once again, it could not have been that easy. In the break of 28 points, we'll see the end of Chang Minyu here, apparently. And therefore, he will be back towards Zhao Xington to try and get himself back towards the action. And it's now been 3.5 hours of how many frames? We started on frame 10th, so frame 9, 17, 8 frames. I'll tell you what, that's horrible. For the pacey two players like both of these are, 8 frames to be taken, this frame included, to be 3.5 hours, and this frame is no longer over. Nowhere near to be over as well. Yeah, so that's certainly something for you to just showcase how poor the standard has been. The end of frames. And this match, well, not quite. He's got 28 points, that plays 24. And therefore, there will be a battle for those 7 reds to be ahead of themselves. But it's going to be interesting to see if Zhao Xington has got any patience to try and get himself engaged with, those safety battles in there. I think Chang Minyu is just delaying the inevitable. But to be fair, he needs to be careful of the cue ball to be shown to a red onto the left part of the table. So he did play that shot well enough. He has managed to cover the only dangerous red away. And now Zhao will have to respond with covering the same red away to himself. And therefore, there will be a chance for him to try and achieve that pretty well. So then here an opportunity, taking that red away from the left side cushion, making sure that the cue ball will stay at the ball cushion. And of course that's advantage there to Zhao Xington because there's only one red that there will be available. He didn't play this shot too well in relation to getting cover on that red, but he has put the cue ball about as close as he could have towards the ball cushion, which I still think at this stage of a match, this shot is not an easy one. You know, they have been the experts of long shots in the first session. I think that expertise has gone away in the session 2. But let's see if the red is going to be made. No, he won't be. Let's see how the cue ball is going to be close towards the middle. He won't be as well. But in the end, playing that one extra shot there from Zhao Xington just seemed to have paid off there. Alright, he didn't play it as well. But once again, it always just seems like whenever you decide to play a patient shot, when you're not playing well, it always seems to work out. Let's see if he's going to work out here though. He will on the red. Great shot into the corner. Come on, Ronnie. You seem to be a little bit all over the place there. I thought you were supporting Zhao Xington for a second. And now he's saying, come on, Ronnie. He's no longer here. He's already back home, you would feel. Very much enjoying his time. Although he has withdrawn for medical reasons. But what is this? Well, it just seems like every single shot that especially Zhao Xington right now, Zhao Xington has played, it seems like it's going to be a disaster waiting to happen. And, well, no wonder he can't get any patience in himself. You can only imagine how frustrating it is when you make all of those shots in and then all of a sudden you start missing all of them for no apparent reason. Well, something has to be fundamentally wrong there, whether it is his his physical well-being or it is just him not having the ability to get to the grips with the table. But you would have felt in a week of time getting to the final, winning 7 frames in the final. He would have been able to do that, but just taking an extra second there on the reds, taken into the green pocket, still allowed himself to be alive there, and now still hanging on there by the edge of his teeth, but ultimately trying to give the fans probably the decider would make this match to be acceptable, but I think the quality just not been there. But I say the quality has not been there. Some of the shots that we've seen played have been absolutely unbelievable, but it's the odd mistake which doesn't seem to be solved right now. It just seemed like you're waiting for it to happen, which is a horrible thing to experience as a fan. Can only imagine what it feels like as a player, because they mustn't be thinking about it surely, but as a fan you just can't help it. Because when you see them miss 1 in 4 shots, which, you know, looks completely unmissable from that position, you just feel like inevitably you're going to have to start thinking about it. Well, can they take this shot on, which usually seems to be so easy for them, but because of how badly they're playing, maybe they're not going to be able to take this one away now. So then, more importantly for Zhao Xington, he's still got a lifeline to try and hold on to, but he's still got some work to do in this frame. He's now getting the benefit of the easy job, although that ping seemed to have wobbled a little bit into the front jaw, but he's gone in. So 22 points is the lead. Now he's going to have two expensive colors to be taken with 2 raids, and then he will be more than 35 points clear, which would leave him 3 more shots there than he needs, as he gets himself 51 points, plays 28. But still, incredible thing there is that even with those mistakes, which seem to be imminent, you know, at this stage, it's only been 2 scoring chances for Zhao Xington. It's only been 1 of those for Chang Minyu, and now it's a raid which will get him up on a frame ball. He's gone for the more difficult one, so he needs to make this red in, and he has done. So now 30 points clear. Needs to make sure he gets the pink in, and then we are going to see another frame of this blockbuster, and more drama to be seen in between Zhao Xington and Chang Minyu. The ping is indeed going to be in. So after all that struggle, it will be 1 more frame there, holding on indeed. And as I said, I did say it at the start of the frame, I still have got a feeling Zhao Xington will win this frame, win this match. I don't know how, don't ask me. Maybe I'm just being stubborn, and I am. But I genuinely do have a belief. And unfortunately, I am going to say this, I'm not a hater. I think Chang Minyu will not be able to take his chances. He's had, you know, I know he's only scored 28 points, and that was in a single visit, but before that, he had 2 chances which he didn't take, which also counts to me. So that's now 3 opportunities that he had, and he scored 28 points out of them. So now, you know, the fact that we're going to have a safety game doesn't really benefit anyone, because there's no momentum that they've built. Zhao Xington had a very straightforward break of 36 points, past the first couple of shots that he played quite well. And let's see how much there is going to be of the bounce. It's a decent bounce there, because he puts the red safe, but Chang is not going to be able to get the snooker right now. Wow, this is a very intense match, and we are going to get, well, what seems like 18 out of 19 frames, so that's certainly going to be the positive, and there's not been many to try and find. But seriously, I think there were positives. I think there was a good number of positives. It's just, there's a huge negative on them, is that the scoring and the level of play has not been good enough. You may say it's fine for the first, second, or maybe even third round, but if you see this level of play beyond the last 16, I think you have to ask certain questions. And as I say, it's very rarely you see both players to be struggling with pretty much exactly identical issues. And by the way, Zhao Xington played a horrible shot previously, and he mustn't forget that he's not over the line in this frame, because now he got himself in all sorts of trouble there after a shot from Chang Minyu. Well, yeah, mustn't take this one lightly. 1 snooker, and he could change the whole thing. Wasn't comfortable, but he got the red in. He might have actually got the snooker back there if the cue ball stayed a little bit higher up the table, but he didn't. So then, back to Chang Minyu it goes. I feel that too. Well, maybe you can. I can only imagine what they will be feeling for Zhao Xington and Chang Minyu, but especially for Chang there, because it's 1 frame closer towards not being safe of getting himself over the finish line. He doesn't want a decider, I can tell you that for free. It will be a great feeling if he wins a decider, but I think he'll be a long way of doing that if the number of frames played will reach number 19. So then, Zhao for now, just trying to get an 8 next to his name. Certainly won't be something that he gets for his performance today. But he may still get a 7 if he wins this match. Because I think at that stage you have to be a special player, not to have played really well throughout the entire tournament and still come away with some great wins and some great glimpses of his own performance. I think his best match, incredibly, was against Robertson, where I think he's only struggled for 2 frames, maybe a little bit more. The worst match is probably this one, because I still think he was good enough against Zhao. It was probably better than any other match in glimpses of against Zhao. This does look like a very difficult snooker there for Chang Minyu that he's laid on Zhao once again. Yeah, so this is not going to be an easy way of trying to get out of a snooker. He has put the blue safe previously, which will hamper Chang Minyu and his attempts of trying to make a clearance, so that's not really going to be an insurance that you want to see. But he feels like he can try and serve around in between the yellow and brown. Well, very difficult shot to be taken on. And that's gone into the brown, so that's now going to be 4 points to be given away. Whether he feels like that faded or not, doesn't matter. It's now 32 points, with Chang Minyu behind him. So the frame is not quite over, but I still think it's not really getting any closer for Chang to be winning this one. Because if you look at where the brown and yellow have gone, you've now got the 4 cheapest colours all to be in a dreadful position. One worse than the other. And the fact that you have to take them all, one after another as well, doesn't really help. Plus, a total clearance is still going to be needed. But Chang there, all of a sudden, staying alive and played some brilliant safety shots, and yet another one has been found. Of course, remember, at this stage, you have to take a red with a very expensive color there. Hard to call. It's still time to say, come on, Zhao. Well, we'll see what's going to happen. For now, it's difficult to say on who's going to be able to win and pot the next red rather than winning the whole match. And, well, Zhao there with a decent effort, nearly gone around the whole red, but he has left this one. So there is going to be a line of taking that red away with the pink, which is going to be the color that he needs. So then 32 behind. So once again, he needs the blue and higher. So the blue is obviously out of position. So he's going to have to try and play all the way for the pink. I think he's got no chance of being on the black. Way too low there for the cue ball to go. But now a chance. Probably not for a total clearance, although you never know. As he hammers the red home. He hammers the red into the green pocket. Now then, 31 points is the difference. Can he try and make it at least part of the work there for himself? Because he needs to realize, I still think he didn't really make his life any easier, because he's still got so many reds, so many colors I should say, that he's going to have to try and battle with Zhao. And, well, that's certainly found an angle also. And he needs to have an angle on the yellow, and I think he's just about going to be straight, which is annoying there because he played an almighty shot to try and get in behind the yellow, but he still thinks there might be an angle to get the cue ball in behind the green. No way, Zhao. Well, we'll see what's going to happen. Behind by 25 points, so 27 at the table, so any one of those colours will be a frame ball for Zhao. Chang Minyu needs a clearance, and, well, he is getting through those colours, you know. There are getting, you know, slimmer and slimmer, the chances of Zhao of actually trying to hold on to that lead. It's still pretty firm, but it's not as firm as it was before he left that red available with a color that suited Chang Minyu. And now a shot on the green. Can he make this one in? He can. Can he screw the cue ball back in towards the brown? Well, he can to a certain extent as well. But he still needs to be perfectly on the blue. And even after the blue, he's still going to need to be perfectly well lined up on the pink and the black, which are quite far away from each other. So it's not all over there. But the fact that he's didn't really have the chance of potting the yellow and green together, and now he's aiming for the brown, all at the same break, certainly which should give him the advantage and the benefit of the doubt. I'll tell you what, if he does manage to clear up from here, I think he can forget about the skills and the lack of skill that he had in the previous frame. I think that will make up for it altogether. But for that, of course, to be the case, he needs to go for a double on the blue. Surely he ain't going to do that because of everything that's at stake, but also he still needs to keep, well, I'll tell you what, I think he's playing for it. He has. He got the, wow, That is incredible. He got the blue in. Where's the cue ball? No, that's not going to be good enough, I'm afraid. That was a monumental effort, that. And the fact that he played the cue ball right into the middle of the table to show you how reckless and, how aggressive this man is. But, well, this is going to be one of the most incredible clearances you could ever imagine. But he's still got a very long way to go. He needs the pink and he needs the black. And not only can he not really take the pink away from here, he also needs to be very much holding that cue ball there with all the pace that he's got, or trying to send it for the black. Unlucky, well. Unlucky in a lucky situation there. Because we'll see what's going to happen here. You never know. You never know. I think he's done so well to get this far that I'm genuinely not going to call the favourite for the winner of this frame. I know it's Zhao that only needs a colour, but you wouldn't put it past Chang Minyu. Well, of course, he's got to go for it now. Whatever he does, I don't know which pocket it will be. Well, he's playing for it. He caught the pink in. Where's the cue ball? I tell you what, this is going to be absolutely outrageous. And I did say he will make up for everything that he's done. This is an incredible break. He's going to ask the referee to clean the white. Well, if it is to be the end, I think we've got the deserved winner. Because you have to say, whatever you think about Chang Minyu, we haven't seen anything like that from Zhao Xingtong today. And, well, the man that seemed to be on the ropes after the 14th frame, the man that missed the brown that was over the pocket, the man that was 32 points behind with 35 at the table, needed the pink, had all four colours to be in a horrible position. I said he's got no chance of making a clearance, and now he's on the black into the corner. We'll see what's going to happen here. Can he try and get the black in? Is he going to be Mark Cullen number 2? The referee's holding his hand. Is he going to try and take his glove off as well? He will have to do that because it is Chang Minyu that makes the clearance, which is going to be one of the best clearances in snooker history, because you have to say, from where the colours were, it is incredible that he's won this frame in that visit to the table. And the most fitting end to that finale, you do have to say, it was down to a brilliant performance all the way through the tournament. He was the underdog in pretty much every single one of his matches, and it is going to be a very emotional win for him. Well, listen, he deserves all the credit there, as Zhao Xingtong loses the first ranking final of his life. Chang Minyu manages to win the second one of his career as well. In relation to, he's had one loss, he's now got a win as well, and he certainly managed to put that performance against Chris Wakeley behind him really, really well. And, well, the frame starting from that 15th frame, it wasn't pretty at times, but it was certainly brilliant. And the fact that he was a snooker behind in the 18th frame, he certainly felt like there was going to be a twist coming up. But as soon as he got the snooker, he was able to come up with a really good response. And watch match fixing, no way. Well, exactly. He can put those things to the back to bed, because that was a clearance like no other. 34 points to score out of that particular position was impossible, but certainly shows you that nothing is impossible in snooker. But what a fitting end. It may have been a little bit of a slow burner in the first session. I think there was an uprise in the second part of the match, but in the end, you have to say, when you finish like that, when you finish on a high, you certainly have to give him the credit. And I think for that final frame, it was certainly down to a brilliant performance there from Chang Minyu. He was very consistent throughout, parts of the match. There were some horrible moments for him. I think that brown is now finally going to be completely erased out of his memory. He didn't make him difference. Zhao Xingtong is going to be by far the most disappointed of the two, because he dedicated a lot of time into this tournament, and in the end he came away with a final, but I don't think he can be happy with anything else other than actually reaching the final two, because he didn't play well. He had glimpses of his own form, but he's now going to have to come away and wait for yet another ranking title. But he's been a lot better for him in terms of the performance. Highest break over 18 frames, over 17 frames was only 78. Exactly, but sometimes it's not just down to the highest break, and it is down to clearances like this. If you wanted to see quality, you needed to try and skip 3.5 hours and jump right to the final clearance, but he certainly was worth the wait. Some great clearances, some great battles, brilliant safeties at times, some more drama as well, but you can see 9 breaks of 50 plus 4 breaks of 50 plus for someone like Zhao is simply not good enough. And 200 points exactly is the difference in between the two players. And in the end, it will be 3 frames as a difference. Great stuff onto British Open. Yes, let's just hope that at least one of them will make it to the British Open, because listen, I still think there will be a lot more of each and one of those two to try and exploit. Whether that will be the case, we'll have to wait and see. You never know what's going to happen at the British Open, because it's a blind draw. Anyone can play anyone. We've seen 6 different players in the finals so far, and we've seen 3 completely different ranking event winners. 2 from England, 1 from China, and it's not the one that you would have thought. It's not Weezer, it's not Zhao Xington, it's not even the king of Wuhan of Xiao Guodong. Si Jiawei is still waiting on it, but Chang Minyu, take a bow. That final clearance has certainly made you feel like you are the worthy man after all. I hope to see the file on the brown on YouTube. Well, listen, yeah, Gareth, but I think it is now going to be completely out of picture, because what's the point now? He was playing very stupid at that time. He was going to be a costly mistake, but he wasn't. And in the end, you know, there's not a lot to think about it. Maybe he's going to try and look back on it as a little bit of a thing for him to achieve. But as I say, it was always going to be a mistake you come back onto as the point where he's certainly thrown away the match. But he hasn't lost a frame ever since. So I think you have to be fair to him. And if anything, you have to say fair play, because a lot of players, let's be fair, 90% of the players would have absolutely lost their head around it. It does remind you of probably not the right timing with personal reasons that Mark Cullen is struggling with, but it does remind you of the black that he missed. And I still think nobody talks about that black if he wins a decider. And he had the chance. And I want to see physical reaction. There wasn't any reaction there. And I felt like it was very, very frustrating for me, because I was like, why does he not care? Does he not realize what he's done? But he was just thinking what happened there. He was just checking the table, checking the cloth. Because the first thing that I looked at was his face to see the reaction, but there wasn't any. Anyway, it's now game over. Chang Minyu, in the end, you have to say, absolutely deserved it. He didn't play his best snooker, but in the end, he is the winner of the Wuhan Open in 2026. And it is the first ranking title, you have to say, of many that he'll probably win. For now, we are going to get ourselves to the British Open. Shaun Murphy is the reigning champion. There's going to be plenty of players to try and challenge the top seeds, with a blind draw getting underway on Monday. Stay tuned in for more action. Thank you very much for watching this stream and throughout the entire journey of the Wuhan Open. Thank you for all your support, and we're back at Cheltenham for the British Open on Monday. And stay tuned in, by the way. We've got English Open coming up right after that one. And guess what? It doesn't get any worse after that. Zhenxing Open, the home tournament for Zhao Xington, may be leaving his form until that point. But of course, right now he'll be very disappointed. But Chang Minyu has to be congratulated again. He is the winner by 10 frames to 7. Thanks for watching once again, and stay tuned in. More action on Monday afternoon.